Recording in progress. Recording in progress. Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Sorry about that. I call to order the City of Seaside City Council
Recording in progress.
to the Redevelopment Agency regular meeting. I call to order the City of Seaside City Council
Recording in progress.
to the Redevelopment Agency regular meeting. I call to order the City of Seaside City Council.
Council and Agency Miller. Council and Agency Member Miller.
I call to order
Council and Agency Member Burks.
Here.
Council and Agency Member Garcia and Agency Member Miller. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Council and Agency Member Burks.
Here.
Mayor Council and Agency Member Garcia and Agency Member Miller. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Council and Agency Member Burks. Mayor Council and Agency Member Garcia and Agency Member Miller. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Council and Agency Member Burks. Mayor Council and Agency Member Garcia and Agency Member Miller. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Council and Agency Member Burks. Mayor Council and Agency Member Garcia and Agency Member. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Council and Agency Member Burks. Mayor Council and Agency Member Garcia and Agency Member. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Council and Agency Member Burks. Mayor Council and Agency Member Garcia and Agency. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Council and Agency Member Burks. Mayor Council and Agency Member Garcia and Agency. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Council and Agency Member Burks. Mayor Council and Agency Member Garcia and Agency. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Council and Agency Member Burks. Mayor Council and Agency Member Garcia and Agency. Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Council and Agency Member Burks. Mayor Council and Agency Member Garcia and Agency.
Yes, Mayor. Staff request removal of item 7G scheduled from tonight's agenda for further refinement. Yes, Mayor. Staff request removal of item 7G scheduled from tonight's agenda for further refinement.
Before we go into
yes, Mayor. Staff request removal of item 7G scheduled from tonight's agenda for further refinement.
before we go into
yes, Mayor. Staff request removal of item 7G scheduled from tonight's agenda for further refinement.
before we go into
yes, Mayor. Staff request removal of item 7G scheduled from tonight's agenda for further refinement.
and we have a family here, and we don't want to hold the family up to the end of the meeting, so it's really appropriate that we do this. We have a family now, and we don't want to, so with the family meeting, so we're just to do it that way. Do this. We have a family now, and we don't want to, so we'll tell family meeting, so I want to say we just do it that way. Do this. We have a family now, and I said this. So we'll tell family meeting, so I want to say we just do it that way.
I grew up with my recreational career as Helena, that's a numerous way. I grew up with my girl shot career that's happened because she has so much part of the guy. That's a numerous way. To me, and this is off the cuff, to me, you know, if you touch one person in your life, then when I raised off the cuff, 3 out of 5 kids, they're successful and done really well. And this family, 3 out of her leadership and her husband, they're successful and done really well. Mom, back in the day, for those that you've been around, as 3 out of her leadership and her husband, they raised 5 kids really well. Mom, all successful, all very successful. 3 out of her leadership, all were part of the Monterey High School team really well. All because of champions, very successful. And because of mother's part of the Monterey High School to make a difference, to make sure their kids get their champions, very successful. And because they get to where they get high school, she is first of all, right? Give you a clue. And I know you can, Melissa, I believe, swam for the swam for the Taiwan Melissa, I believe, both of them worked for the city of Seaside back in the day. They're both amazing instructors. Matt is the financial advisor. Daniel is the property manager. Brian is the master. Matt is the financial advisor. She raised them to be successful. And they left the area. Brian is the master. Matt is the because of her leadership, her husband's leadership. She raised them to be successful. She did not live in Seaside, but she was a part of a rock away from Seaside. She did not live in Seaside, spent 80% of her time in Seaside. She did not live in Seaside, spent 80% of her time in there was 60 to 70 people out there doing line dancing from 10 to 70, so no one had a clue what line dancing was. 60 to 70 there is what line dancing was. So she was part of that. And so probably over the years, hundreds and hundreds of people through that program is how she taught her how to dance. She also started a line dancing club, performance annually at the London College. She had she was wonderful in organizing people in the quiet area to make things happen. When we started doing that, we started doing wonderful small excursions to make things happen. When we started doing one park or small shopping center, we said, hey, we need some more people. More people to sign up in order for this to happen. Go to her and within 3 days, the bus was full. Because she made things happen in her own quiet way. For her, they had a firm opinion about those things, and she made things happen. Because she made things happen in her own quiet way. Daughter, I don't know how she did this, and this is all volunteer. She made things. They had gone to Australia, everywhere that she didn't imagine on tours, and this is all volunteer. And she organized and planned. It was mostly Seaside seniors. It was all Seaside seniors doing. They went on a cruise ship. They all. And she had a line dance. They took control of the organization. They were doing their devotion to the community. She had a line dance. She was a lady that one of the ladies in my 30 or 40 years was a senior. She was somebody that you can count on, someone that you can trust, someone that made a difference. And she put her hands on somebody that you can work with. She had a direct impact on the graduation conference, the senior dances, back in when she started senior dances. She had 60 people out of 100 were associated with her. And she's the one that brought the dance, and since that time, they've expanded to 150 people. And she is the grounding force that kind of was the initiator to make that happen. She's a difference maker, somebody that she is the grounding force. We will all remember that if you've been around Helena, you've seen what she does. She talked to her dance. She had fun what she handles at the level of residence. If you've been around her kids, you've seen her husband, their successes. She had fun showcase at the She's a legacy. Her kids are a legacy of what she did, and they are showing us doing good things in the relationship. She's a legacy, and they will spread that love, wellness, wisdom, and clear paths. I would like to continue. I was hard. We were all heartbroken. Wisdom and clear paths. I would like to continue. I was hard. I own her. Wisdom around her. Seen her and her strong leadership. I was really made a difference in this community. Around her, she came the full family and her strong leadership. Just amazing. Her role in society will never change. Thank you so very much for all the night and the family. Just really strengthened her role in society. Just role models for all of us. Thank you so very much for all the night. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any other comments? I would just say, I think I met Elena maybe about 10 or 15 years ago. Probably close to 15 years ago. I would just say, and so I won't say a lot of stuff that the Mayor Pro Tem said. I think he said it excellently and made the ground. That, you know, she was a community builder, and sometimes it may be hard for the family to really understand that she was a community builder, but for the people on the outside, sometimes that's what we see as the community builder family to really understand. She was a community builder, but she was a community builder, and sometimes that's what we see as the community when you look at their family to really understand. She was a great community builder, but she was around. Sometimes that's what it comes from community members wanting to participate. She was a great community builder. She was around. That's where you ran into her. You always see that love and smile and happiness and that wanting us to come together. It seemed like that was her mission. Not only the little wanting around the edges, but it seemed like that was her mission to come together. Not only participate as community. It comes from those community members back home. And sometimes, you know, we call that a glue. Those type of people are what glues us together. And sometimes, you know, we call that, you know, you don't know it at the time. And that's what I want you, which is, you know, when you lose someone like that, you know, you don't know it at the time. And that's what I want you, which is, you know, together as a community. Because you don't know why that come together. You don't know to be around that person. To see that smile, that person calling you. You don't know why and that leadership. So for me, it's about, as you think about that person calling you, then you realize what she meant to you. And that's what she meant to this community. It's that type of glue that held us together. And when you think about it that way, when you remember it, that this community is that type of glue which I will remember us together. And so we talk about it, we think about it that way. We miss the memory that's just carried the person out of the brought that to your life. They brought that to so we talk about it. That's the latest memory that's just how do we keep that? What did we learn from that? So when we talk about it, that's the latest memory that's just how do she have lost? What did you guys should be so proud that she did it here? That's the latest that you say we as she says as a Seaside are so proud to so call this place here. She spent a lot of time here in Seaside. We as she says our community members will miss her. And so she spent a lot of time here in Seaside. We as the gaps there. And we're here all the time. And so what I would do is just open up for a little bit in your remarks. The gaps there. The family may have or anyone. So what I would do is just open up for a little bit in your remarks. If somebody wanted to come down here, I know they have or anyone. So what I would do is just open up for a little bit in your remarks. Somebody work around the family may have. So what I would do is just open up for a little bit in your
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, of course, Annalisa, but to the family, be encouraged. City council, be encouraged. Your mom, your family member, she left. Be here, like the mayor said that. Be encouraged. Those shoes, your family member, she left. Will be hard to replace, like the mayor said. So there's a song that a songwriter wrote that I thought would be hard to replace for just this one line. So one, thank you for sharing her with us, and I thank her for bringing the best of who she was. So one, every time I saw her at the older Marson, that fierce smile and that grace that she carried. But the song that says, "Did you ever know that you are a hero? You're everything we would like to be. Did you ever know that you are a hero? Than an eagle, everything we would like to be. We can fly than an eagle, everything we would like to be. We can fly than an eagle, everything we would like to be. We can fly than an eagle, everything we
I just want to say two things. First off, this is a picture of her who's 86 years old. She was ageless. No one ever called her to say two things. They said, "Oh, your sister's dead." This is a picture of her who's 86 years old. And just to put legacy, no one ever called her in the hospital. They said, "Oh, your sister's dead." My father, David, saw her in their 65th wedding anniversary. No one ever called her in the hospital. They said, "Oh, your sister's dead." My father, David, saw her in their 65th. Thank you, council. Thank you, everyone who's in attendance. Thank you, council. Thank you, everyone who's in attendance.
Public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the city council on matters our jurisdiction, but not on the agenda may do so this time. 3 minutes, we ask that you hold comments until the item is called. We have time during that. Also, this is the time to comment on presentation items, and for the benefit of also, we ask that you stay comment on
Members of the public in the chamber, please approach the podium. Members of the public on Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9. If you're members of the public in the chamber, please approach the podium. Members of the public on Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Joris, and I have Hi, my name is Sylvia Joris. If it would be possible to put, and I think we've all seen them, they're those flashing lights that are on crosswalks, right? Either the crosswalk lights up, or I think we've all seen them, they're those, because on Broadway, it's kind of dangerous when you're crossing the street, especially in the evening. And I've seen them in Monterey, I've seen them in Carmel, but I think that would be helpful because when people turn on, I've seen them in Monterey, I've seen them in Carmel, and you're in the middle of that crosswalk because it's pretty dangerous. A lot of them will stop at the last minute, or you just have to like jump in and you're in the middle of that crosswalk. So just something to think about at the last minute. I'm sure probably there's places on Fremont also that I use them, but I'm certain that on I think, well, wherever there's a crosswalk on Broadway, I think that's where we need them. Yeah, thank you. I think, well, wherever there's a crosswalk on Broadway, I think that's where we need them. Yeah, thank you. I think,
Good evening, City Council. Anne-Marie Pavone. I just have a couple of things that I've noticed and people have come up to me. Good evening, City Council. I'll bring it to the council. The first thing is we need to do something about these kids. People have come up to me. They are no longer Canadian kids. They are now Seaside, we need to do something about these people. Not only do they create a health hazard, Seaside, they're also now they're becoming not only do they create a health hazard, people slam on their brakes because these pesticides, they're not going to fly across the street. They're just going to walk. People slam on their brakes because I can't tell you how many times I've seen almost road accidents because the geese will fly right or walk right into the car. Somebody sees them at the last minute, slams on their brakes, and we're going to have a pile right into people turning to the left or turning to the right, trying to get past them. So we need to figure out a solution with these. I knew back in I think it was Monterey during the egg season, they would spray the eggs so that they would not continue to develop. The geese can still lay their eggs and stuff, but they're not going to have baby geese. Along the same lines is several people that have businesses on Broadway have said the seagulls that it smells like the wharf now when you walk down the street. Their roofs are inundated with seagulls. And they said, the city did a really good job when they had inundated cars on Broadway and stuff. But then the rest of the year, the city did a really good job and it's getting really bad. Not only on the sidewalk, but on the roofs. They're destroying the roofs. And then my last thing is, we spent a lot of money to pave Kimball Avenue. And over the last couple of months, I've seen Kimball Avenue be dug up by either Cal-Am or the cable company, or I don't know. But when they dig it up and they repave it, they just pave that little certain part. Eventually, that whole street's going to fall apart again. And we're going to have the potholes and we're going to have some of the pavement's going to sink and whatever. I wish they could just get it all together. If it's Cal-Am, fix all your pipes at one time, If there's a cable company, then they need to do it. I mean, it's just getting, I really feel that here in a couple of years, we're going to start finding the sinkholes again. So I just hope that the city would make them pave it the correct way, the whole way, not just a certain spot.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, city manager, city attorney. I'm Bobby Maxwell, resident of Seaside. I totally agree with the prior speaker about the geese being a problem, but if we were to do such things as spraying the eggs with oils or whatever, so that they don't hatch, I think we would open our city up for litigation, because the geese are a migratory bird and they are protected by the Federal Migratory Bird Act of, I think, 1890 or something like that. I do agree that a lot of them have found a home here and just stay instead of migrating, but they're still protected as being a migratory species. The roads, the Hilby Avenue traffic calming thing is working. The traffic has been slowing down. There is an issue on the corner of Wheeler and Hilby, and it's a Cal-Am issue, because a number of years ago they did some underground work there, and the thing is still leaking because it's slowly but surely sinking down. The pothole is getting deeper and deeper, and it's a hazard to drive through. But thank you for your time.
Public comment remains open.
The caller whose phone number ends in 2287, please share your comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. This is Peter Kaiser, longtime Seaside resident. And as there was just a moment of silence, I would respectfully like to add a prayer. Lord, we glorify your name. Thank you for your sacrifice of your Son on the cross who died for us that we may be forgiven and forgive others. Thank you for your grace, your loving kindness, your mercy. And may the city council respectfully follow the Bible and the Lord's will in their decisions and have godly Christian wisdom and also Christian worldview as they make decisions for the city. And may there be no more abortions two blocks away at the Planned Parenthood. And thank you, Lord, that in the big budget that it was $800 billion will not be going, $800 million will not be going anymore to Planned Parenthood this year, which supports these abortions and transgender surgeries and hormones, which is inappropriate, especially for children. So, Lord, may these things all happen as your will allows. And in Jesus' holy name, amen. Thank you so much. Peter Kaiser.
Linda Cunningham, please provide your comment.
Hi, this is Linda Cunningham. I am on the Seaside Homeless Commission, but I'm here as a private citizen. I hope it's okay to, didn't see the fireworks on the agenda tonight. And I just wanted to say June was described to me as strangely silent. Isn't that beautiful? It was wonderful. We heard hardly any fireworks in June. Even the first week of July was great. Of course, 4th of July, I believe, was better than previous years. And I just wanted to thank everyone in the city. I know the police, fire, the drone team, the people answering the text messages. It was all hands on deck, and I really just wanted to thank everybody. I also wanted to point out that I am seeing new wraps on more of the utility boxes. We've got a cool jellyfish like night scene over here by Baldomero's Tacos. I just saw the beautiful seahorse one over by the at Broadway by the cypress tree and the downtown sign. There's another one at the Auto Mall. They're just absolutely beautiful. The street work on Hillby is absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much for doing that. And I am really sad that there will be women in Seaside who may not be diagnosed with cancer early enough to help them because of the defunding of Planned Parenthood. If you don't like abortions, you would think that Planned Parenthood would be a priority for people, but that is not the choice. And I've always been grateful that these medical services that mean so much and have saved thousands and thousands of lives, millions across our country, because they do so much healthcare at Planned Parenthood and do save lives. Not every abortion is birth control. It's actually the minority. And I'm very grateful that the women of Seaside have had access to this healthcare. And it saddens my heart that something so kind and in caring the healthcare of other people is being defunded. And again, everything just looks so beautiful. I keep seeing all the sidewalk at the high school. I've seen people with their kids in strollers on that sidewalk, taking the bike on that sidewalk. It's so much safer. It's beautiful. And I want to thank the city council and mayor and everyone for all you do. What you're doing is making a difference. And I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. Pastor Britt? Pastor Britt, you now have the floor.
My hand wasn't raised. Go ahead.
Thank you. There's no one else online, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one else here, no one else. Public comment is closed. City Manager, are there any questions, issues, or concerns you can speak to at this time?
Yes, Mayor, a couple items to speak on. First, staff is currently working on some audible enhanced signals, traffic signals along Fremont to improve pedestrian safety. And so we can certainly look at additional safety precautions on traffic signals along Broadway for pedestrians. And secondly, the geese and the seagulls continue to be an issue. We are looking internally at a variety of solutions for both of those issues. One of those, we are currently talking to and approaching downtown business owners along Broadway to develop a partnership to potentially install some bird deterrent systems to assist. And so we certainly encourage Broadway property owners to reach out to city staff if they haven't been contacted already to discuss that a little further. So just trying to make efforts on both of those initiatives. Thank you.
Broadway and Fremont.
Broadway and Fremont.
Also, I know that's what you're doing, so I want to just highlight that and make it clear. Well, next we'll go to item number 6, which is public agency communications. Do we have any public agency members here? I don't see any. We'll keep moving. Next we have 6A, Seaside City News broadcast of upcoming citywide events and community announcements. Like yourself.
Let's step into this week's edition of Seaside City News, covering more of the events happening this July. The U.S. Army is preparing for a prescribed burn on Fort Ord as part of the ongoing environmental cleanup efforts. The designated area, Unit A, is located within the Fort Ord National Monument, and the burn may take place anytime between July and December, depending on weather conditions. Community members can stay informed by signing up for the Army's direct notification program to receive updates via text, email, or phone. For more details and to register, visit fortordcleanup.com or call 800-852-9699. Everyone's Harvest, in partnership with Farms Together, is offering free boxes of produce at the Seaside Farmers Market every Thursday. Please note that the extended market hours are now 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. So mark your calendars and we'll see you out at Laguna Grande Park on Thursdays. The City of Seaside invites you to experience the Fiber Arts exhibit at the Walter Lee Avery Gallery, located inside City Hall. Running now through September 4th, this exhibit showcases works by a talented group of artists. From social commentary to personal memory, each piece explores fiber arts through a fresh, contemporary lens. For more information, contact the art program at 831-899-6811. Join FOSPA on Saturday, July 19th at Highland Otis Park and on the 26th at Durant Park for a day of service and outdoor fun. For more information, including future workdays and locations, visit friendsofseasideparks.org. Sunday Blues returns to Laguna Grande Park for 2 unforgettable afternoons of live music and community vibes. On July 20th, enjoy opening act Stu Hayden, followed by headliner Black Cat Zydeco featuring Dwight Carrier. Then on July 27th, catch the Al James Band with blues legend Carolyn Wonderland closing out the show. Music runs from 1 to 4:30 p.m. Admission is free and all ages are welcome. Bring your lawn chairs, relax, and enjoy the rhythm of summer in Seaside. Get ready. It's time for Seaside's largest swim lesson, happening on July 26th at the Patullo Swim Center. Kids ages 4 to 14 can join for free with lesson times at 11 and 12 noon. After the lesson, participants and their families are invited to enjoy free recreational swim from 1:15 to 3. Spots are limited. Sign up today at bit.ly/Seaside Rec Track or call 831-899-6815. Mark your calendar. National Night Out is happening in Seaside on Tuesday, August 5th from 4 to 7 p.m. on the City Hall lawn. Join the Seaside Police Department and community for an evening of free food, games, prizes, music, local resources, and fun activities for kids and families. Together, we can make Seaside a safer, stronger community. We hope to see you out there. For any questions, please reach out to Community Resource Specialist Leo Morales at 831-899-6748. Construction is moving forward on Seaside's campus town development. Phase 1A kicked off with a pre-construction meeting on July 10th, focusing on site grading and safety coordination. Randazzo Enterprises will begin grading operations the week of July 14th, starting at General Jim Moore Boulevard and progressing west to east. Erosion control and security fencing will closely follow. Initial clearing and grubbing will take 6 to 8 weeks. Please note, 2nd Avenue south of Lightfighter Drive is now closed to through traffic. Stay tuned for updates as progress continues on this transformative project. We appreciate you tuning in to Seaside City News, where we work to include, innovate, and inspire. We'll be back with more exciting events to share with you this August. Until then, be safe, live fully, and enjoy all our city has to offer. Thank you, Seaside.
Thank you so much. We'll keep the agenda moving. We'll go to item number 7, which is the consent agenda. And I think you turned my volume up too, so that's good. No, that's fine. That's fine. I was a little startled. A, approve and file city checks. B, approve and file city checks. C, approve a proclamation designating the month of July 2025 as Parks and Recreational Month. D, approve a mayor youth fund contribution request of $3,000 from the Seaside Raiders cheer program to help cover the costs associated with their cheer program. E, approve the environmental service cooperative agreement report covering activities from April through June 2025 as presented in the agenda packet. F, adopt a resolution authorizing professional service agreement with Voltaire Strategic Advisors for media relations for an amount not to exceed $8,000 a month from July 2025 through December 2025. For the public, item G was removed from the agenda. Item G was removed from the agenda. H, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to award a on-call civil engineering surveying professional service agreement in the amount of $500,000 each for on-call civil engineering and surveying professional services for projects to G7EI Inc., Monterey Bay Engineers Inc., Wallace Group, and Woodson and Associates Inc. I approve updating the 2025-26 fee schedule to include miscellaneous building and structural fees. That concludes the reading of the consent agenda. Is there any item that the council would like to pull off the consent agenda? Is there any item anyone from the public would like to pull off the consent agenda? Yes, sir. You can just holler it out for right now.
Good. Mr. Mayor and the City Council.
No, just tell me what letter you would like to pull, sir.
Item D.
Item D, yes, sir. Okay. We'll talk about that in a minute or two. Anyone else? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, thank you. Bringing it back to the council. What is the will of the council?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
It's been probably moved to second that we approve the consent agenda, and to be clear, the consent agenda does not have D on it. Public comment is open. Not on D yet. Not on D yet. Is anybody on Zoom?
No, Mayor.
Seeing no one here, no one, public comments closed, bring it back to the dais. All those in favor use the record sign of voting, which is aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right. Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passed unanimously. We will go to 7D, which is approve the mayor's youth fund request contribution. A request for $3,000 from Seaside Raiders cheer program to help cover the costs associated with their cheer program. Public comment is open.
Mr. Mayor, city council members, my name is Hugh Smith.
What I'm gonna do is,
Yes, sir.
as much fun as I'm having, I'm gonna be as consistent as I think I need to be. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna ask the mayor pro tem to take this item right here and recuse myself, because I think I have family members involved with this. So I don't want to be swayed by them. Anyway.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and City Council, my name is Hugh Smith. I'm a member of the board for the Seaside Raiders and also responsible for the Seaside Cheer. And on behalf of our organization, I just want to thank you all for your support of Seaside Cheer. I'm not here by myself. I do have a couple of cheer members with me here on the floor and up in the stands here. So on behalf of all of us and the families who participate in this, this organization has been around for many years, and as you know, gives back and provides great opportunities for young people that are constructive, keeps young people athletic and engaged in the community. So just want to appreciate and thank all of you for helping making these funds available. They're duly needed and appreciated. So thank you again. You guys want to say anything?
Say any words of wisdom?
Yeah.
Say no,
I think we have some stage fright, so
huh?
yeah. Thank you again.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank you, lady.
does any council members have any questions or comments? Seeing none,
City Attorney. I just think there's a disclosure that does need to be made because our mayor recused himself because of family members being involved in this program. And I understand there may be other council members that have members of their family in this program. However, if they are recused, there will not be a quorum and you will not be able to take action on this item tonight. You could address that potential conflict because it's not in any one person's personal interest by making a disclosure and proceeding on the item in any case.
sure.
So make a disclosure.
So
So I just need to disclose that I have a child that's part of the program as well. And that you can act independently and without bias on this item. And I can act independently and without bias on this item.
okay, let's bring it out to the public. Any comments from the public? There's
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, all the members of the dais. The Raiders been around for a long time. My youngest child is 33 and every one of my daughters have been a Raiderette. So I am grateful that the city continues to support this young group of people. Prior to coming to the city council meeting tonight, I haven't even been home. I was at a women's prison, and then I went to a graduation at a YOP, which is called the Youth Offender Program at Valley State Prison. And then getting home, I picked up my grandson, but all the way down the freeway, I just cried all the way home because those kids in that YOP program are so young and as tall as those two young ladies that walked outside. So thank you to the Seaside Raiders for giving the young people a fair chance. And thank you to the city council for sponsoring parks. That contribution that you make is not a big contribution because those cheerleading outfits, they cost way more than that money that you give them. And I'm glad that's over for me. But But thank you. It's really appreciated because they deserve a fair chance at life. And all parents can't afford that bill, and even to attend all those games and do all that they do, that's a whole part-time job in itself. And we all know the cost of living in Monterey and Seaside is high. And so you can't just keep taking off from work for every event. And then that's when the village comes in. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And it is just much appreciated. Thank you.
I know you guys are going to approve this, and I'm glad that you are. There is not a program that's held within the city that someone on this council is not going to have a family member in. If you've lived here even 5 years, there's always going to be a program. So I understand that we have to do the disclosure, and I have no problem in thinking that the mayor nor Ms. Burks is doing this because they have something to gain by it. They're not. So I say go ahead and approve this, let them get their money, and have this program continue. Because as Lisa Ann said, Annalisa said, this has been around. I didn't have children going to cheer or involved in the Raiders because they chose not to. But I hear about it all the time, and I see it on Facebook, and I see what they're doing. And these girls and these young men that are playing for the football part, they love it, and they're getting good mentorship in doing this. So like I said, I hope this does get approved and that they can get the funds that they need. And if there's any extra money around, make sure they get it as well.
Anybody on friendly Zoom people? Anybody else?
No, sir.
Okay, so let's bring it back for the council for action. Move to approve.
Second.
So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're done with that issue. Thank you very much. Thank you for your comments and congratulations. Let's get the mayor back in.
You love? You did.
There's one that's called the mix this year. Go on, just call it up until he doesn't show up.
There he is.
There he is.
Thank you so much. Well, next we'll go to business item number eight, which is a public hearing, adopt an ordinance to amend Title 5 and 17 of the Seaside Municipal Code to establish security requirements, operating standards, and zoning requirements for the storage and sale of firearms and ammunition. The proposed ordinance is not subject to the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15061B3 of the CEQA guidelines. Mr. City Manager, this is a first reading, will be a roll call vote. Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. For this item will be presented by Andrew Myrick, our Economic Development and Community Planning Manager.
Thank you, City Manager, Mayor, City Council. So we got a working. All right, there we go. All right, so just as a little bit of background on this, so this began on March 20th, and council directed staff to review appropriate locations for the sale of firearms and ammunition within Seaside. On May 1st, staff brought back to council a revision to the West Broadway Urban Village specific plan, which prohibited the sale of firearms and ammunition within the West Broadway Urban Village. And the proposed ordinance in front of you would provide regulations for the remainder of the city. Just as a reminder, under our current ordinances, the sale of firearms is considered a general retail use and therefore is a permitted use in the majority of the city. So just a little bit of background, that's the baseline we're running from. Again, next slide, please. Okay.
So this ordinance does several things, and the first of these is it amends Title V to address issues related to operational security requirements. And this is because when we were looking at what are the potential impacts of this type of business, the number one concern and threat to the public safety that we found was the threat from the potential theft of the firearms and its then distribution onto the streets and the dangers that that could pose to the public. And so we tried to put very strong measures in place to ensure that if a firearm store opens in the city of Seaside, that it would be a secure facility. And so any business selling or storing firearms would be required to get a firearms dealer license. Under our current code, there is a permit that is issued by the police chief on an annual basis. What this ordinance does is it maintains that the police chief would still be in charge of issuing the annual firearms dealer license, but the ordinance provides significantly more detail regarding what is included in the analysis of whether or not to grant that license. They would be annual and subject to reinspection annually. Just as an example of some of the items that are now included in the ordinance is the installation of physical security devices, such as barriers on windows and doors or bollards to prevent vehicles from being able to ram through a wall into the building. Storage and display requirements, such as requiring guns to be kept in a safe, or if they're going to be on display during when the business is open, they would have to have a cable run through the trigger guard. Alarm and video monitoring of facilities, including the potential ability for those to directly alert the police department in the event that there is some sort of issue. And then annual licenses and inspections from the police chief. The standards that are included in here are not all inclusive. The police chief does have the ability to go beyond those and require additional modifications, including structural modifications based on individual circumstances. So an example of where this might come up would be if you had a multi-tenant commercial building and you might have two adjacent spaces and maybe there's just basically drywall between the two. That would be very easy to break into the adjacent space, come through the wall with a couple of hammers. And so if the police chief does an inspection and finds something like that, the police chief has the ability to require structural alterations to the building so that that would not be a possibility. And it can come from any direction. I was talking to another jurisdiction and they said that they recently had an issue where someone broke in through the roof of one of these stores and stole some weapons. So the police chief really does have a lot of ability and discretion to look at each circumstance individually and make the determinations that he or she deems appropriate. The ordinance also modifies Title 17, which is the zoning ordinance, to specify where are the appropriate locations within the city of Seaside. So what this does in the zoning ordinance is, first of all, right now, like I said, we consider this general retail as a permitted use. This would create a new use, and we say that it always requires a use permit to do this type of use. So that includes things like public notification in the paper and to nearby property owners. It limits locations to the southwest portion of the city. I'll show that in a map in a moment. It limits locations to the community commercial and regional general commercial zoning districts. And it requires minimum distances from certain sensitive uses. So for allowable locations, they would only be allowed in areas south of San Pablo and west of Noche Buena. And the reason for that is that this reduces security risks by putting them in closer proximity to the police department so that you can get a more rapid response in the event of a break-in. All these security requirements are great, but they won't stop, say, a tank. If someone wants to get in, they can probably get in. But if the firearms are also stored in a safe, the goal is to make it so it takes them so long to actually access the weapons that the police have responded before they have a chance to actually get there. So you can never create something that will totally stop someone, but you can slow them down significantly. And that's the goal of that. And in order to help support that goal, only allowing them near the police department so the police can give them just a couple of minutes to try to get into a building and then get into a safe and then be able to escape becomes very difficult for them to do so. Also, there's a few properties that are zoned community commercial east of Noche Buena, such as the Little Stand near the softball park by Noche Buena. And staff doesn't believe that those are appropriate locations. So again, west of Noche Buena, south of San Pablo. These show the allowable locations within that area, and thanks to the Voice of Seaside for helping to put these maps together. The pink area here along Fremont that you can see, that's the community commercial zoning district, and that is really the main area where these would be allowed. There is a little bit of purple over at the CRG area over around Home Depot and the Embassy Suites, but there aren't really any available parcels in that area. So really what we're talking about here is along Fremont Street. And so the next few slides are going to be looking at, we looked at 4 different scenarios with sensitive uses. Buffers would be provided around parks, schools, and licensed childcare centers and preschools. We cannot do that around family daycare homes simply because the data is not available to us. The state does not publish that information. And so that's why we limited it to childcare centers and preschools. The ordinance includes a 300-foot buffer, and I'll show the 4 scenarios. And the 300-foot buffer we essentially chose because staff believed that that created a suitable enough distance that someone was not going to simply walk out of the building after purchasing a firearm and utilize it on a soft target in the immediate area. And it also happens to match our public notification radius. We typically send notices to all property owners within 300 feet of a property. And so this way, the people within the buffer would get notified. So this was the initial scenario, which is a 200-foot radius around all the sites. So each of those little yellow circles represents a roughly 200-foot radius around the sensitive areas. And as you can see, a 200-foot radius doesn't have a very significant impact as far as affecting the pink properties, again, those along Fremont. The 300-foot radius, which is staff's recommendation, you can see starts to take some out of consideration, the ones that are just south of city center, a few properties over off of Trinity, right by Trinity Park, and a few of the properties that are just on the back side of the Oldemeyer Center there. However, most properties along Fremont Street are still eligible. 500-foot radius, you can see, starts taking more properties out of commission, including the shopping center that used to have Outdoor World. And then a 1,000-foot radius really leaves the properties up north of Broadway, between Broadway and San Pablo, as well as a few properties down near around Walgreens and that area in the south part of the city. So based on all that, staff's recommendation is the council introduce the proposed ordinance for adoption at the next council meeting, and I am happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, hopefully I can have a little lean tonight because I think we have a chance to do something positive as far as safety. So, and anyway, so I have numerous questions because this is really serious, I think, as far as our residents and safety, as far as I'm concerned. So my first question is, and there are many, as you're aware, what do the residents or the city gain by potentially having a gun store or more than one gun store in Seaside versus the risk of killing or injuring kids, family members being potentially killed? What do we gain?
So I would say that the sales of firearms isn't directly correlated to the use of firearms to kill people. People can purchase firearms in other jurisdictions. And so the goal of this ordinance was not to prevent people from purchasing firearms, but rather to ensure that any facility within the city of Seaside the firearms would not be able to be stolen, and they would be located a certain distance away from certain sensitive uses. Okay. But it's not designed to prevent the sale of firearms or to keep people from acquiring them.
I think we'll talk about correlation in a little bit. Why, and I might get my directions mixed up. So why are sales prohibited east of Noche Buena and south of San Pablo and not towards, I guess, towards military?
So east of Noche Buena is mainly a residential area. It's also further away from the police department where, a primary response could potentially come from. And also there are only a few commercially zoned parcels, all of them along Noche Buena, all of them very small and not a good location for this kind of a use. A use of this type, staff felt should belong on a major thoroughfare such as Fremont, which is accessible. More so, not so much to the public as it is to the police department.
So going with that logic, which I disagree with, but if the response time being closer to City Hall is an excuse, I believe police are on patrol and out in the streets, and often in my visual, sometimes there's incidents where you might have 4 or 5 police cars because of the serious impact. So they could be on one side of the city where the travel distance is longer. Can you explain, I guess, does that make sense to you at all?
Maybe I could invite the police chief to talk about, response times and yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, so your question in terms of response time, I think if I understood you correctly, that's an accurate statement that we have officers on patrol, ideally 24/7. In discussions with Mr. Myrick, we have talked about having the police station as a hub. It's very likely that you're going to have police officers at the department, even when they're out on patrol. It would be sporadic where a police officer could be, but there's more visibility of the police department being where it is and police officers responding from there. It's very common, especially during the daytime when a business could be open. But even at nighttime, if officers are at the station, it'd be a quick response time. But we're a small community and we can get around relatively quickly from anywhere. I just want to highlight one thing Mr. Myrick said. The further north in town that we go, we have the largest school, which is Seaside High School. And we're considering that when we talked about pushing it back towards the San Pablo region.
But it is true, and because you already know my philosophy, that on occasion, on more than occasions, I do see police officers. There's an incident of significance, an accident, a robbery where you have multiple cars on one part of the town. So obviously that leaves less on it. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Then again, is staff aware that each gun store per 100,000 people increases gun homicide by 2.4%, and in urban areas it increases it by 9%?
I was not aware of that.
Okay. And that's okay, because the guns that I'll talk about that later. Is staff aware between 2010 and 2020, 1 in 3 mass shootings occur within 50 miles of firearm stores?
I was not aware of that.
Are you aware 70% of firearms recovered are tracked back to licensed dealers and criminal activity?
No, I was not.
Okay. The federal law relates to background checks and failing to track inventory, as you mentioned in your report. We have less staff than we did last year. Can staff guarantee we can timely manage the supervision to ensure that the gun owners are following the law as far as their facility?
Right. So just to be clear, we're only talking about the sales of firearms, not the ownership of firearms. Right. And that's exactly why we do have conditions and provisions in the statute regarding not just the security, which there will be inspections on, and we have a lot of discretion. The police chief has a lot of discretion on that. We also have provisions in the statute regarding the conditions on the site. And by requiring a use permit, we can provide additional conditions for the operation of each of these facilities on a case-by-case basis as any applications may come through.
Can staff guarantee, as in guarantee, because our lives, our children's lives are important to all of us, as well as families, can you guarantee that during day hours or night hours, someone will not break in to a gun store and use that guns for negative behavior?
No, I cannot.
A police officer, and this is an obvious, is reactive versus proactive, especially in gun things. Is that true that they're reactive? They can't stop a break into a gun store until they know that. Is that a true statement?
As far as a police officer responding, yes. And so that is why the purpose of the ordinance is to make it very unattractive as a target. So that if you see a store that has iron bars to protect you from getting in, bollards in front, the guns are stored in safes, it makes it less attractive as a target. So even though the officers themselves may be reactive, it does try to take a proactive approach to enforcement by making the targets unattractive.
Okay, I'll leave it at that. I already asked about that. And then I understand what you said earlier in your report as far as preschools and child cares that not being licensed, that we don't know. There are child care centers out there. I think there's one on Fremont that the city is not aware of. But we're not including them, and I don't know how to include them, but that there may be an incident, something was stolen, that it would impact a child care because we're not aware of them. So therefore there is no 300-foot, whatever. Is that true?
Well, the property owner, as part of the use permit application, would still receive a notification prior to approval of that through the use permit process. So a use permit always includes notification to all property owners within 300 feet of the property.
But I think you said, and I could be wrong, so I apologize, that you're not aware of all the child care facilities.
No, but we do.
You cannot control what you don't know.
But we do have all the property owner information.
Okay.
So we may not know that it's a child care facility, but we know who the property owner is, and we would send one to the address of record.
And I agree with that, but if a gun store was open next to a house on Fremont or wherever it be, you potentially wouldn't know about it. So therefore there could be a gun stolen or whatever and somebody being injured. That's that because of you can't control what you don't know.
Correct.
Okay.
Ideally, they would come forward and say, hey, I'm here, but we can't control whether they do that or not.
And ideally nobody would shoot anybody anytime, anywhere, but just can't control that. That's all my questions. Thank you, sir, so very much, and I appreciate your patience, Mr. Mayor.
No problem at all. Anyone else? Councilmember Garcia-Zola.
Thank you. Sort of going on what Councilman Pacheco mentioned about accessing information regarding the home daycare centers. You mentioned, I think, that we're not able to access that information from the state database. Well, are we, or?
They don't release it because it contains people's home addresses. So they do publish the locations of childcare centers and preschools. And so we have the addresses for all of those, but they don't publish the addresses of large family daycare homes, and they don't even publish the names of the small family daycare homes. They instead work with local nonprofits that someone's supposed to go to and get a referral from, but they're not set up to provide the data.
Is there a way to get or establish a registry in the future of these daycare centers?
It would have to come through the state.
Okay. That was my only question. Oh, I guess based on these examples that you provided, the 300-foot setback, 500-foot, and 1,000-foot, It seems like the 500 foot is the one that we would mostly lean towards, or
Staff's recommendation is the 300, but I can show the difference to the 300 foot, and bearing in mind also that if any portion, and this map doesn't show this, but if any portion of a parcel is impacted by the radius, then the entire parcel is taken out. And so you can kind of see, and the main place we were looking at was this area in Fremont, near the Oldemeyer Center, where there's several parcels in that area that if you go to 500 feet, it really takes out that entire side of the street. But that being said, 300 feet is just staff's recommendation. There's no mathematical equation that, we use to determine that that was the appropriate number.
perfect. And just wanting to ask these questions for the public's clarification. Who in this proposed ordinance, who would have the final say in approving or granting whether the licenses would be appropriate?
So there's two places where the buck would stop. One of them would be the police chief. So the police chief has full discretion. If the police chief looks at the space and says, no, this isn't going to work, and anything you do to it still doesn't solve this problem, then the police chief essentially has the ability to prevent it from going in. The second is through the use permit process. It goes to the planning commission. It could, in theory, be appealed to the council from that point. So at the very least, the planning commission would have the final say, could potentially be the city council, depending on how things play out.
So going through several processes.
Yes.
Okay. And the proposal of a map or setbacks wouldn't prevent the sale or someone setting up shop, would it? Or banning firearms in the city of Seaside?
It would not ban firearms in the city of Seaside. It would just say that it has to be a certain distance from these known uses, which could change over time. If a new preschool opened up north of Broadway, we would add another circle up there. Right. It would just depend on who was open at the time that the application was deemed complete.
And the sole proposed ordinance wouldn't automatically allow for the immediate sale of firearms, correct?
I'm sorry, ask that again.
This proposed ordinance wouldn't allow the immediate sale of firearms, would it?
No, you'd have to go through both of those two processes.
That's what I wanted to.
Yeah.
Just for the public's clarification. Thank you.
Anyone else? Council member Burks.
Yeah, I don't really have questions. I just wanted to make a comment that I understand that gun safety is a really much bigger issue than what this ordinance is. And understanding that there's a huge shortage of childcare. So there's a lot of home care centers that are probably out there that aren't officially centers. And I just feel that as a city, we should be thinking what we can do to make it safer for our city better. So it's not about not allowing gun sales, but putting everything in place to possibly support our police department and be able to respond. And for me, 300 would not be the radius. I would say the more the better to just keep us safe.
Mayor Pro Tem.
You mentioned 300 feet would be inclusive, not inclusive of the Oldemeyer Center, so they could have a gun store near the Oldemeyer Center. But 500 feet they could not, that would cut out that area of the Oldemeyer Center. God knows how many seniors and how many kids.
So if you can imagine the Oldemeyer Center, and you go 500 feet in every direction from the parcel lines, and that's going to create like a 1,000 foot plus whatever the length of the parcel is, circle, right? Roughly circle. Any parcel or portion of a parcel that is covered by that would not be a location that a gun store could go into. So if an application were to come in, we would look at that parcel. We would look to see, is this parcel located within 500 feet or 300 feet or 1,000 feet of a parcel of one of these other parcels that we've identified? And if the answer is yes, we would simply say, this use is not allowed at this location.
So 500 feet with. They couldn't sell. How about the 201 right across the street?
There are no, so it would, except that there's no commercial properties that would not be covered by the Oldemeyer Center because the Patulo Swim Center is on the residential side of everything. It is further away from every commercial property than the Oldemeyer Center.
So how about the tennis courts on,
So we did look at those, and as you can see, those are the ones down at the bottom there, and they're more than 1,000 feet from any commercially zoned property.
thank you. That's all, sorry.
No, that's all right. We want to make sure we hear you on the recording. Any other questions? I guess my comments is, you know, we're going towards the staff is talking about 300 feet. I heard 500 feet, 1,000 feet. I mean, at a certain point, you could just say no gun sales at all, right? I mean, wouldn't that cover the whole city if we did that?
Eventually, yeah, at some point, there would be no possible locations.
Right. Well, I mean, let me slow down. If we said no gun sales at all in the city, would that cover the city?
Oh, yes.
See, that's what I said.
Okay,
right?
sorry.
So my only point is, you know, if we want to beat each other to the biggest circle, we'll just, you know, let's go to the largest circle possible, which is recommended 1,000. It could be 1,500, right? But the object is setting a standard, and it's only a couple parcels out there, and the bigger the circle, the more you're limiting the possibility of parcels, which I understand. But we should just cut to the chase and say what we want to say. Let's open it up for the public, and public comment is open.
Members of the public in the chamber, please approach the podium. Members of the public on Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 if you're calling from a phone.
Anne Marie Pagan, Mr. Pacheco, we're not going to agree on this one. I don't care how many feet you're going to put that you can't sell arms. Nobody can guarantee that someone isn't going to break into somewhere and steal weapons. They could break into my house and steal a weapon. They could break into anybody's house that has weapons, and they're going to get stolen. I don't have metal gates on my windows or whatever, and nor does the majority of the people that have weapons here. Mine are secure, but there's always, if there's a will, there's going to be a way for anybody to steal something. I don't think only the children's lives matter, it's everybody's lives matter. So whether a person's going to shoot a child or shoot an adult, it doesn't matter. They're still shooting. So I don't care what number of feet you want to put in this ordinance. It's not going to guarantee that someone isn't going to get broken into nor have something happen to them. You could be walking down Fremont and somebody has a gun and they don't like the color of my shoes and they want to shoot me, they're going to shoot me. And I bet you 10 to 1 that gun was not bought in a licensed store. It was probably either stolen from somebody or sold from somebody that shouldn't have had it to begin with. I don't think eliminating guns completely is not going to stop somebody from shooting somebody. You know, guns don't do it by themselves. They do it by the humans that are behind it. So going back to our Second Amendment, I think that's, we need to have our Second Amendment. But by having the police chief have the ability to make it be more unattractive to have this facility. If you go to a property owner and say, you have to put the bollards in front, you got to put the metal gates, you got to put reinforcements in your walls and your ceilings. And eventually they're going to say, I'm not going to do it in Seaside because it's going to cost me too much money. I won't make any money. So we can make it less attractive, But I don't think anybody's breaking down the doors to open up a gun shop in Seaside. So I agree partly with the mayor. If we really don't want to have gun sales in Seaside, it's our city. We can say, we won't sell guns in Seaside. That's our right. And if you don't like that, then go to another city and open up a shop. So, I mean, I don't care how many feet you want to do. It doesn't matter. And, you know, and as far as the daycare facilities, there's a lot of mom and pops, and they will not even come forward and tell you because they don't want to pay the license that they have to pay and all of that. So you've got, you know, grandma's taking care of the kids in the neighborhood, and they're not going to come forward and say, I have a licensed daycare. Thank you.
Thank you. The caller whose number ends in 2. Apologize.
Hi. This is about the most ridiculous proposal I've ever heard. It broke my heart. The gentleman proved to me, and I think to all of you, what they have to do in order to protect us from what business they want to open. Also, if you give them a location, nobody will ever be able to open up daycare within the distance allowed. In other words, they will be in control of that space. You will not be able to have a daycare. You will not have a youth club or anything else because they've claimed that parameter. The other thing is all adjacent properties, residential or commercial, will drop in value, will also drop in business. It will bring Seaside awareness to the general public on the peninsula as we're supporting crime. I don't think it is fair to the police department to have more guns out in the street that potentially can be stolen. More guns, more potential for stealing. It makes no sense in our community now that over the years of the chief working on cleaning up the town as much as possible. Do we need more firearms available either through purchase or through theft? It makes absolutely no sense. This is strictly a business venture. All of the exercises that were done were thought out, but they're totally convinced me that this is a bad idea because of the high vulnerability. And now, what we all heard, the police chief is going to be in control of that. He doesn't need to be in control of that because it shouldn't even be here. Totally ridiculous. Money, business. Anybody can buy a gun somewhere else, but not in Seaside. Let's not make ourselves vulnerable to crime. And this is a bunch of nonsense, especially how people are divided in America right now. We don't need to give people weapons to argue over. Neighbors to neighbors, family to family. Makes absolutely no sense. Totally ridiculous. Shame on you for being here. Shame on you.
The caller whose number ends in 2287. You may now have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
This is Peter Kaiser again. I think we need to try to remember our history. The British had the most powerful army in the world around 1776, and they would be coming into America. They would try to take the armories. They would try to confiscate the guns and the gunpowder in our various cities. And there was a responsibility in the colonial constitutions, as I recall, every man like 18 to 50 had to be armed. They had to have a weapon and ammunition ready to go. They called them Minutemen. And they protected the community from attack from any marauding gangs or armies or whatever. And we were able, with the Lord's help, to defeat the most powerful army in the world because we respected weapons. We had riflings in our high quality German built and other other foreign type weapons better than the British sometimes. So we have to remember that the gun is a tool, and the gun is not the problem. In the hands of properly under the Constitution, the Second Amendment, the right to bear and keep arms is protected, and we can't keep saying that the guns are the problem. A lot of criminals steal weapons. They don't buy them legally. They don't want to go through a background check, obviously, and end up in jail just trying to buy a legal weapon. So I think we need to be careful. We don't want to think that Seaside is no longer a military combat arms. People are honored here, those who have a service in the combat arms, and so we need to be able to respect the sale of weapons in safe stores, and that the children of these veterans would be able to buy weapons legally in Seaside. And I think this is very important, and let's not be prejudiced in this discussion. The guns are not the problem, it's the people who misuse them, and they, if used properly, it keeps the community safe. In one town in Georgia, required each house to have guns, and the crime rate went way down. So let's please respect the Second Amendment, and if you ban the entire sale of guns in the city, that violates the Second Amendment, and that is very clear. Thank you very much.
Catherine Crockett, you may have the floor. Catherine Crockett, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I want to start by saying I'm strongly opposed to allowing gun and ammunition sales in our city. Study after study has shown that communities with more access to guns tend to have more gun violence. According to research published in the American Journal of Public Health, cities with more gun dealers per capita see higher rates of firearm homicide. The Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Violence Solutions has also found that areas with easier access to firearms have increased risks of suicide, domestic violence deaths, and accidental shootings. Allowing gun shops, even with restrictions, makes our city more vulnerable to these risks. Gun stores are often targeted for theft, potentially putting more untraceable firearms on our streets. If this ordinance does move forward despite these concerns, I urge you to strengthen the restrictions. Increasing the minimum distance to at least 1,000 feet is in line with what many other cities across California and the U.S. are doing to protect their communities. Please consider the long-term impact of this decision and how it will impact our Seaside community. Let's keep our neighborhoods focused on safety, not gun sales. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Members of the public in the chamber, please approach the podium. Members of the public and on Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 if you're calling from a phone.
So I know that Outdoor World, which is maybe from here like a 5-minute drive, has guns. You can buy a gun at Outdoor World, which is not far from Seaside. So, and I know Salinas, there's places to buy guns. So I don't think that Seaside needs to have a gun store. If you really want one, you can drive 5 minutes that way, 15, 20 minutes that way, right? I'm really opposed to this. My kids have businesses here. Employees that we have live here. They have children. They go to the schools in Seaside. I think we've seen and heard through the news of young people in general that go out. They have these crazy ideas. They go and buy a gun. They wait for that period of time when they get the gun, and then they go and they use it, and they shoot up a school. They shoot up the workplace. They're on a killing spree. I don't think we need that in Seaside. I think it's a really negative thing. I think it's just a really bad idea.
Hearing no one else, seeing no one else, public comments closed. Bringing it back to the dais. Were there any more questions? I had a couple of questions. Mr. Mayor, if you can come up for a second. I don't know how we got to where we're at, but for some reason, I think well, let me be clear, I'm not confused. But what I don't want to do is I don't want anybody watching this proceedings to become confused, right? This is not about opening up a gun store, is it?
We have no applications, so no.
No, could you speak in the mic a little bit?
No, we have no applications at this time.
Right, so this conversation is not about Seaside opening up or allowing any gun stores.
No.
Does this ordinance prevent any legal authorized individual from purchasing a firearm?
No, it does not.
And right now, any authorized, any legally authorized individual could purchase a firearm in Seaside now if we had that a firearm store.
Yes.
Okay. Let me just be a little bit more clear. The only thing I think this does is limit that ability for a store to open up.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And the next one is, will this increase the ability of anyone to purchase a firearm in the city of Seaside? Will it increase?
No.
Okay. And then the last one is, if a firearm store is already in an area and it has a buffer, 300, 500, 1,000 feet, can a child care daycare facility open up within that buffer zone?
Yes, the ordinance explicitly says that that is a
They can come
possibility.
in second, but
Yes.
the store can't come in afterwards.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I wouldn't. Okay, that clarifies it for me. I had a concern somehow it got twisted and somehow we're talking about actually promoting and opening up a gun store. And so, anyone else, questions or let's just move the agenda item. I think.
These are my comments. Is that cool, or is that what you want to do? Or
Well, let's see if there's any need for further comments.
okay,
It needs a motion and second, or otherwise
I'll make a motion to make the distance 1,000 feet.
Well, why don't you're talking about you want to move
The 300 record feet.
you want to move, hold on, you want to move the staff recommendation.
Right, from 300 feet to 1,000 feet.
Well, you want to move the recommendation, we'll get to 300 in a minute.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anybody? I will second that. On the question, Mayor Pro Tem.
Just my comments.
Well, let's talk to see if we want to move it.
Oh, I thought there was a second. I'm sorry.
No, I did, but
Okay.
not on the feet, not on the zone yet. You have to change that. You have to figure out how to get two more people to support that.
What?
I second it.
The city attorney had something to say.
Well, no, I'm talking.
Okay,
right
I'm
now.
sorry. She was.
I second it
Okay.
so we can talk about it. So, city.
Yes, as I understood Mayor Pro Tem's motion, it was not to move staff's recommendation respectfully. It was to move the ordinance with the modification of the 300-foot setback to 1,000-foot setback is what I understood his motion to be.
Yes.
Okay.
For clarification purposes.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's the motion.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
It's been properly moved in second. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
So just my thoughts on this. Related to the Second Amendment, we had wonderful forefathers back in the day that created rules and laws. And I believe they were smart enough if they knew a gun can kill somebody every 10 seconds and up to 100 in a minute, they would not have put this in because they were shooting up bullets once every 5 minutes time they loaded, unloaded to protect across the world. So that's one point. First and second of all, and this is, I agree with the gentleman, spoke very highly, very well. Staff did not we asked staff to bring this forward with the goal of opening a dialogue, in my opinion, to make it safer Seaside. It was not staff's fault. Staff did nothing wrong. Staff did what they were told to do, and that's the bottom line. You all know how I feel. I believe we need to maximize safety zones, if not allow guns in stores in Seaside. I am fine with the 1,000 because that narrows the window. Our residents gain nothing except for the increased opportunity to kill or injure people. The potential revenue or service is not worth the life of a child or a family member. Currently, and increasing daily in our world, it's becoming more tense. People are killing people just because they can. Politicians, children, family members, firemen, policemen, they're getting shot just because they can. Just because this world right now, for reasons that some of us know, it's becoming very intense. We see it in the papers. We see it on TV. We're inundated with killings. And we almost come numb to it because it's happening so often. Each additional store increases homicide by 2.4% and 9% in urban areas. We don't want that happening in Seaside. We don't want an incident happening and the news finds out that bullet was bought in Seaside. We don't need that in our community. 70% of firearms recovered in crimes are tracked back to licensed dealers. This proposal is fair to one side. Half of Seaside is covered, half is not covered. North, south. The 1,000 feet kind of balances it out, what covers most of Seaside. But right now it's not equal across the board. Some child cares are protected, some are not, because we're not aware of all the child care centers. I believe we need to maximize. I think that 1,000 feet does that. Furthermore, the ability to monitor gun stores to ensure they are following federal guidelines is time consuming. And our police are already less staff doing less things, and things get by. We have a wonderful chief right now. I'm sure he will do that, but we don't know what's coming down the line in 10, 15 years because people move on, a different mentality, different service attitude. Gun stores increase deaths and suicides. I believe we need to maximize safety zones to 1,000 feet as it relates to childcare in all of Seaside. The lives of our children and residents are too important to risk to even gamble, to anything negative happening. I just strongly believe in that. And I think, and this is not in my notes, but I saw a thing by the police who are not in Seaside. Today I saw that. By that 1,000 feet, that helps that concept by minimizing and probably eliminating all gun sales in Seaside, which is great. But that helps not in Seaside. And this, if the 1,000 feet mark is approved, that says not in Seaside. Fremont, 300 feet, I'm not too sure. Because it increases the risk. And I don't want to gamble. I don't want any of you, any child, to have the opportunity of getting shot just because someone broke into something and stole something. We want to save Seaside. I believe the Seaside. We got to protect our residents to any way we can. And stepping this forward, and thank you for doing so, makes a difference from what was. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, of course. Councilmember Garcia.
I just want to build on what Councilmember Pacheco mentioned. If we didn't pass this, the allowed locations would have been all of Fremont. And this council is taking a proactive measure to ensure that we're placing these buffers within 1,000 feet within sensitive locations that we disclose, which would reduce the number of allowable locations that a gun shop would be able to be implemented in the city of Seaside. And we hear a lot about, we'll just say no or ban it completely. We can't, because it would then potentially lead to litigation for the city of Seaside. And I think this is a proactive measure that we're trying to do. We're going with as many preventative actions as a council to ensure that we reduce the amount of locations which gun shops can be set up.
Anyone else? Yeah, I'm glad you said what you said at the end, Councilman Garcia. I think, again, if there's anybody that wants to limit the sales or eliminate the sales, they should come out and say it. That's not what this does. And we should not act as though that's what this does, because it goes back to just what you said, is we're trying to do something to being too slick by half. We're not eliminating the sales. You have the right to do that. What we're trying to do is prevent it in certain places that is not conducive to economic vitality of our community. And then we talked about sensitive areas. And so we expanded the scope on sensitive areas. But this is not about trying to eliminate the gun sales in Seaside. And we should be strong enough to say that, because we don't want to be challenged and we don't want to be caught in court. Someone said earlier about, people can purchase a weapon now, they can purchase a firearm now and go down the street and hurt someone. And so, it's nice to say, hey, it's 1,000-meter buffer, but that ain't stop anyone, right? So, I'm not hanging my hat on that. But what my goal is how do we increase the economic vitality of this community? And if other people want to grab hold to the safety aspect, that's fine. But we know people buy guns and they go to other places and they use the guns illegally. So with that, this is a ordinance, first reading, roll call vote. Clerk, call the roll.
Agency and Council Member Burks. Agency Member Council Member Garcia Arasola.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Pacheco.
Aye.
Mayor Oglesby.
I'm sorry.
Ayes have it.
What was the number?
It's 4.
I can't hear you. 4.
4-0. 4-0.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Business item number 9A, approve the Seaside Star ad hoc committee recommendations for the 4 recipients and authorize the city manager to execute the contracts with the FMG Custom Concrete. Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This item presented by Assistant City Manager Dan Mulis.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, staff, and the public. I am Dan Miwas, the Assistant City Manager, and I have the pleasure of presenting the 4th class recommendations for the Seaside Stars program. All right, so the Seaside Stars program, for those of you that don't know, was started back in 2022. And the goal is to honor those individuals that have made significant and lasting contributions to the city. The first class was installed in February of 2023. We had 6 honorees. We did the second class in March of 2024 with 7. And we did the third class in November of 2024. We had 5. So we had a unique period there where we did 2 classes within 1 year as we were trying to search for the perfect time of year to really honor those individuals after the nomination period starts in March. So our ad hoc committee members, we have our chair and co-founder, Annalisa Mitchell, co-founder Franco Pacheco, Anne Marie Pagan as a community member, Bobby Maxwell and Jeanette Walton were representing the Parks and Rec Commission. And then Joy Anderson and Ruthie Watts were former C-Job commissioners. And we have Francoise Avery, who is a former Art and History Commission member. We did have two conflicts. However, those two members that were had a conflict of interest, they did not make any of the voting in our blind voting for our scoring for this year's committee. So the application period, it opens in every year in March and it runs through the 31st. This year we received 8 applications and 4 are being recommended to the city council this year. This is just the reminder of the star, the design of the stars, the individual plaques, the color choice that was changed back in our second cycle. And so our nominees this year, the recommendations are, we have Community Partnership for Youth and Sherry Hasty for Outstanding Achievement. We have Pearl Carey for Community and Social Equality, Charles Coach Williams for Athletics and Competition, and James Bogan for Civics and Government. So when we start to fill out Broadway with our stars locations, you can see we have, when you look at the map there, the blue ones are the title stars that are the end pieces on each side of the street. The green ones are the first class, red are second, third are the orange ones, and the purple are the proposed locations for the fourth class. So you'll see what we end up doing here. We have the 2 purple ones on Calaveras and Hillsdale in between there. So that will fill that section. It will give us 4 on each side. The next block down, we already have 4 on each side. And then we'll have 2 down on the bottom section. So we'll even it out on 3 on each side of the street. So after this class is finished, we will have significant stars on each side that will be mirrored on each side of the street. So the cost for the stars, there was a little bit of an increase for this year. It went up to $6,716 per plaque. That was an increase of about $500 from last cycle. The cost for 4 plaques will be $26,864. The council in the recent budget adoption, we allocated $40,000. So that leaves us with a balance of about 13. And then the remaining funds will be used towards our unveiling ceremony. We are looking at having the unveiling ceremony in October this year. Right now, if council goes and approves the recommendation for the 4 committee, the ad hoc committee members, we will have about 8 weeks to get the stars built and installed, which puts us right around the beginning of October, which we're looking at for hosting this next year's cycle. So with that, the recommendation would be to approve the Seaside Ad Hoc Committee's recommendations for the 2025 recipients, and then authorize the city manager to execute the contract with FMG Custom Concrete. And FMG they're the company that has designed the original star, and they install them each year for us as well. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Yes.
Just more of a request. I walk on Broadway, once every 2 or 3 weeks, and often the stars are dirty, and we already talked about that issue. Just kind of make sure that they are well represented, because those are some important people, past and future, that they just represent the city well. And then my other comment, or a thought process, because of the rainy season, maybe the earlier in October versus the later in October with the weather conditions, if that could be a consideration. I just worry about rain impacting stuff.
I'm shooting for the first weekend in October.
That's only my question.
Oh, okay. Anyone else? Let's take it out to the public. Public comment is open.
Members of the public in the chamber, please approach the podium. Members of the public on Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 if you're calling from a phone.
Thank you very much, Council. My name is Sam Farr, and I would like to, first of all, thank you for your public service. I spent 42 years in public office, and 24 of those years were in Congress. And I have to tell you that the last debate I just heard was longer than anybody ever debated the defense budget in Congress. So we all say in Washington, all politics is local, and thank God for city councils. This is my favorite city council chamber. And I have fond memories of bringing John Lewis, about to have his birthday, to this chamber and to Seaside when we were colleagues in Congress. And you're all to be congratulated on your service. I'm here tonight because you're talking about these Seaside Stars. Well, in my life, one of my favorite people and most impressive people that helped me do a lot of things for Seaside, create the Veterans Cemetery, bringing the Veterans Clinic to Marina, doing a lot of things for the stand up for the homeless. That person is James Bogan. And he's one, you're nominating him under government and public service. And I strongly recommend that you approve those nominations. I'm sorry James isn't here tonight, but there's others that are going to talk about it, but I don't know anybody. Just as you know, people come to you with ideas, and then your job is to enact those ideas. We always said you didn't get elected to make easy decisions. You got elected to make hard ones. But James came to me and said, we don't do enough for veterans. We're closing Fort Ord. We have all this opportunity to grab this real estate free, seize it and see what you can do. And led me into creating the Veteran Cemetery. It's a state cemetery, but it's paid for by the federal government. And the Veterans Clinic, which we did a roundabout. We would have never gotten the clinic under the Veterans capital outlay list, but we went to the private sector and had them build it and reimburse them for the clinic here. That's the first clinic in the United States to have both veterans and Department of Defense physicians in one building. It's the first building in the United States to have joint billing for veterans benefits. James was the initiator of all that, and he goes out to that clinic every week, and he and his wife Dory do help people in that building. Interesting that Dory, his wife, was his boss, and she's still his boss. And it just an amazing individual who quietly just does things without wanting to get recognition, but he certainly deserves it, and this is one of them. And as you're doing Seaside Stars, James Bogan is a galaxy. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone.
Dan, you need to come down.
Oh, I do? Okay.
Yeah, I let the Honorable Sam Farr speak from wherever he wanted to speak from. But yeah, we appreciate you coming down, Dan. But I do before you.
Good to see you again.
The Honorable Congressman Sam Farr for being here today.
You bet.
Words. Sorry about that.
I know a lot of you. I'm Dan Presser, and thanks for considering James Bogan as your Seaside superstar. You chose the right guy. I hope you choose the right guy. I've known James for about a score of years. I wish it had been longer. You know, he's just that great a guy. The relationship James and I have are similar to that of a marriage. Those of you who know how we banter at meetings, we've had our ups and downs, and I've gotten to know him very, very well. Well, you've heard a lot about James and what he has done for Seaside. I'd like us to take a look at something that I'd like to call his hidden achievement. His hidden achievement is what he has done for the psyche of others. While building a cohesive military veteran community, he has enlightened and encouraged many within the Seaside community. He has taken younger folks under his tutelage and showed them how to believe in themselves. He has the ability to spark others to help those in need, to build a veteran cemetery, to take disabled on fishing trips, to build a veterans clinic. He's done all of that for veterans. Yes, James Bogan has helped do all those things and even more. He created a cadre of little Jameses who too want to help, and they want to help with enthusiasm. James has done wonderful things that you can see and touch. Along that journey, he has touched the heart of so many people. And for that, we hope he is going to be honored. Seasiders, emulate James Bogan and then pass it on. Just pass it on. And we hope you guys will vote for the 4 that were listed this evening. Thank you.
Mayor and City Council. First of all, I want to say it was an honor to be on this committee, this ad hoc committee. I learned a lot of Seaside about their history. Just going through the paperwork on the applications of these applicants. Some were very small, but the information in there was great. It was nice to work with a group of people too that there were no arguments. We all voted the way we thought was in our hearts and would make Seaside look great. And we all agreed the same. So I wish there was more applicants because 8 was very few for what's been in the past. So I encourage people to nominate a friend, a relative, a boss, or somebody you think needs to be honored that had made a great impact for Seaside. So in the future, I do think that only picking 4 was a good number for us. And I hope that we continue to only pick 4 for every year because it was a working number that we could all work with. So, like I said, I'm honored that I was selected to be part of this, and I hope that I can continue to do it for years to come. Thank you.
I'd like to also say that I served on that committee too, and the 4 candidates that we have selected were worthy of the election. Of course, this is not the last year. We got many more years to honor other candidates. And so we met several times. We discussed each one. And I think the ones that we have deserve the honor that we honor them with this year. So congratulations to all of them.
Public comment remains open.
Members of the public in the chamber, please approach the podium. Members of the public on Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 if you're calling from a phone. That's it.
I thank you so much. Hearing no one else, public comment is closed. Bring it back to the dais. What is the will of the council?
I motion to approve item 9A.
I'll make a second, but on the second.
It's been properly moved and seconded on the question, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, just a couple of things. One, it's not a secret that I'm a fan of this program. It's not a secret. We have a congressman here that served for decades that understands the value of this program and understands, I hope, that it's important to recognize people that make a huge difference. That will be a lifelong memory. I hope he sees that, or he wouldn't have come here to present and discuss the importance of James Bogan. So I'm just doing this because I think I need to. As you mentioned, James Bogan did what James Bogan does. He doesn't do it weekly. He's done it for a lifetime. He still serves daily with veterans programs. And you said it extremely well. But one of my favorite parts about James Bogan, because Willie Mays was my hero back in the day. He played baseball with Willie Mays. He was, and that's, I mean, that if there was any doubt of anything, he played baseball with Willie Mays, so therefore he deserves a star. But that's just my own personal bias, beyond the things that he did. Pearl Carey, many of you, and only because I'm old, know this, she used to be on this council for years. And I could be wrong on this, but I think she was the first Black person that played at Pebble Beach. Probably woman. She was one of the first Blacks that got other women to play golf at Pebble Beach. She made a movement about Blacks participating in golf. She was the first one that recognized the value of Sunday blues. She was one of the first women that I worked with very indirectly. We used to take kids to Black Horse and Van Ness Golf Course, and she taught kids of all cultures how to play golf. And she rode in the van. She took them there. She got pros to help the kids. And I believe, and I'm not sure about this, Hugh Smith, if that's the same Hugh Smith that I remember, was one of those kids that played pro golf that was in that program, plus countless others. So she is, and she fought for the justice and rights of many citizens, that when there are many challenges in a changing society, but she stood up when people were afraid to speak up. And she did it with elegance and class. Charles, I hired Charles, or Coach, I call him Charles. And, you know, you talk about people that are Pied Pipers. Wherever kids were, they found Coach. They found his heart. The amount of lives that he has touched, the amount of kids that come, he had meetings at Round Table and kids just show up. Back in the day, we used to have a trip to the Giants game and we had 40 openings and he got 30 by himself. He worked for Derry Woods, Manzanita, or Terrasco for decades. Just staying after school, working with kids, being a mentor, being a role model. And he still does. He was at the senior dance today. He's there Tuesday and Wednesdays with the bingo and the seniors. He donates, he doesn't make a whole lot. You don't make a whole lot of money being retired from a part-time job. You just don't. And he donates money for the senior programs by giving them gifts for kids and parents and seniors. He's just a difference maker. And congratulations. And CPY and Sherry, how many lives have been touched? You know, we can all go on for decades about Sherry, but it's a difference maker, it's a change maker. How many kids got jobs when there were no jobs to be had, where they weren't qualified? She made them qualified. A mentor. She has mentored, her staff are all basically mentors of her style and development. She's changed lives. She's made Seaside a safer place to be, as well as Coach. And that's all you can ask. She made Seaside safer. She made opportunities where parents have to work until 5:30, and they have nowhere to go. They go to CPY because she changes lives, because she has quality staff, and it's a good program. And I apologize, Mayor, but I just think it's important to recognize this is a hell of a group of class. This is classes, first class. There is no doubt. Sometimes we have reservations. I have no reservations with this class of people because they have changed Seaside forever. And some of them, Coach will continue doing that. But we need to remember people like Pearl Carey and James Bogan. Because they're just huge in this community if you've been around for a few decades. So congratulations to the committee. Thank you for your hard work. You did a hell of a job. And these are important people. And this program, showcased by our former congressman, it has value. It has meaning. It has purpose. And I hope you come to the ceremony, because it's an important ceremony. Because Herman Edwards said, and I'll never forget this, and we grew up together, sort of, kind of. He was a wonderful athlete and I was an okay athlete, but he basically said him being recognized was the most important thing, most important word that he has ever said. Received. Harold Luss, pretty much the same thing. So it changes people's lives in the community, and that has value. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
No problem. Words well said. Anyone else? Yes, I agree. All of them are well-deserved recipients. And then I think we do have the motion, right? And so all those in favor, use regular item voting. I guess, Dan, I got a clarifying question. So when will the community know of the date? When, like, when will you know? And then will you be so sure that you're going to make the date, right? So when should we start looking for the announcement of the date?
So I already let the contractor know that we're going to be doing 4 stars. And so we're starting the process. So I should know hopefully within the next couple of weeks, and I'll be notifying all the applicants when I have that date finalized. I'm hopeful by the end of August at the latest.
The end of August, what?
That I'll know the exact date of when we're going to be doing this.
Okay, end of August. So that means it'll be sometime in
October.
Okay, I just want to be clear. Yeah, of course. Go ahead, Doug.
Can I just clarify on that? You're going to notify the recipients in October?
No, I'm going to notify the recipients just tomorrow.
Okay.
But like I'll in my letter that I send them, I won't have an official date yet, and then I'll let them know the date.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you won't have to tell them. They shouldn't be up watching.
I sure hope so.
But no, we understand that. But that's the thing. People want to know about this, and so that's the object. Is when do you think your announcement be out? And you just told us. That's what I wanted to get to. Thank you so much. All those in favor, use the correct sign voting, which is aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right. Abstentions, hearing none, motion carried unanimously. All right. Let's go to item number 9B. Adopt a resolution to modify the city's water allocation table to allocate 1.292 acre feet per year to the city's unallocated reserve and to allocate up to 0.725 acre feet per year from the unallocated reserve to 1020 Auto Center Parkway to support the new distribution center for the Meals on Wheels. This action is not subject to the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section 15061B3 of the SEQA guidelines. Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Back to present this item is Andrew Myrick, our Economic Development and Community Planning Manager.
Thank you very much, everyone. So, okay, so just a little bit of background again. City gets an allocation of water from the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District every, we receive that allocation. The city has the ability to allocate that water as it deems appropriate. And so in order to do that, we have a table that we use to keep track of the various uses and accounts that the city maintains so that that water can then be distributed to various uses. This is the most recently adopted table. A lot of it is not really important for today's conversation, except just to note that for the unallocated reserve, which is the second item from the bottom, is at 0.969 acre feet per year. So that's about almost an acre foot per year. So 1020 Auto Center Parkway is occupied by a vacant building. It was formerly a showroom for power sports. It's approximately 11,225 square feet on the first floor. It also has an unpermitted second floor, which is 5,350 square feet roughly. So Meals on Wheels of the Monterey Peninsula is a 501c3. It delivers meals to qualified community members. I'm sure they can tell you exactly who they provide meals to. They're looking to acquire the site and utilize it for the distribution and delivery of meals for consumption off the premises. So what would happen is volunteers would come up in their vehicles, the meals would be loaded onto those vehicles, and the vehicles would then take those meals to whoever is supposed to receive them. This use was approved by the Planning Commission on July 9th, 2025. In order to open this use, the Meals on Wheels requires an allocation of up to 0.725 acre feet per year in order to operate. 0.351 of that is due to an increase in demand because part of the building that was formerly considered Group 1 by the Water District, they would install a kitchen that would make it Group 2. That requires an additional 0.351 acre feet of water per year. It also needs 0.374 acre feet per year because the second floor was unpermitted. And so in order for them to legalize that space, they need to get a water allocation for that as well. And that water allocation would be done at the lowest level that the Water District has. Meals on Wheels is also agreeing to additional conditions to their permit to clarify that only off-site distribution of meals will be permitted, and that's included in the resolution. As far as the source of the water, so remember I showed you that table earlier, and so usually whenever we look to an allocation of water, we look at what category it's going to come from. In this particular case, a little different. In 2019, city approved 1.292 acre feet of water for a restaurant on Broadway, but that project did not move forward. And so this recently came to the city's attention that had happened. And so the city has reclaimed that allocation. And so what staff is recommending is rather than take water from one of those other allocations, that we take the 1.292 acre feet, put that in the unallocated reserve, and then take the 7.725 acre feet from that allocated reserve. And so the way our table would look at the end of all that is we would be increasing the unallocated reserve from 0.969 to 1.536. So just to kind of summarize that briefly, doing that would allocate 0.725 acre feet of water to the project as per the terms of the resolution, and would leave 1.536 acre feet per year in the unallocated reserve. And so staff's recommendation is the council adopt the resolution approving up to 0.725 acre feet per year of water for 1020 Auto Center Parkway. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Yeah, I had a question. What is the understanding of the unpermitted second floor? I'm trying to understand if it's unpermitted, then why is it being permitted?
So what it's essentially going through a process that was kind of colloquially referred to as legalization. So they would be pulling permits and they would get it inspected and we would ensure that everything is built appropriately. It does meet our requirements. It just did not receive permits.
Right. No, I understand that. It's just you have a lot of unpermitted things, city manager, and eventually that's all you got to do is, get it permitted afterwards. Then that's a concern, but that's not this issue, right? I'm just asking the question. So thank you so much. We'll open up to public comments.
Members of public in the chamber, please approach the podium. Members of public on Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 if you're calling from a phone.
We're always glad to see some buildings aren't sitting vacant. So I'm glad somebody's going to use that building. But my question is, and I know it doesn't concern this project but Power Sports was there for a while. And how could they have a second floor that nobody did an inspection? Nobody did our fire department go check out the building or whatever? So I wonder how many other businesses are out there that have done improvements, as they call it, to their buildings, and we're not even aware of it. So that could possibly put us with a liability if something were to happen to somebody, that second floor were to fall on someone or somebody were to get hurt coming down. So I think that's something that maybe our city staff and our fire department needs to go, or our code enforcement needs to start looking at some of these buildings that have not been inspected. But I'm glad that another business wants to come into Seaside and they're going to use a vacant building so it's not just sitting there.
And I would say if the applicant wanted to speak as an applicant and not be timed by the 3 minutes, they should wait, or they can take their 3 minutes as public comment. Public comment remains open.
Members of the public in the chamber, please approach the podium. Members of the public on Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature. Press *9 if you're calling from a phone. Nothing further on Zoom.
Thank you so much. Seeing no one here, no one, public comment is closed. I would say, right now there seem to be no questions, or are there any questions of the applicant? What is the will? They're free to speak if they want to speak. Okay, but the ball is rolling downhill, right? So, what is the will of the council?
Move approval.
Second.
It's been properly moved, and I thought I heard Councilmember Burks second that. So it's been properly moved in second on the question. I do want to say we want to thank Meals on Wheels, the wonderful work that they do in not only our community, but this region is known, and we appreciate them and thank them for the work that they do, and we look forward working with them coming forward in the future, particularly bringing that building up to code. Right. Okay, all those in favor use the direct side voting, which is aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right. Abstentions, hear none, ayes have it, motion carried unanimously. All right. All right. Dude, is this time for the break? Okay, otherwise I'll get a note in the middle. Okay, let's take a recess. Staff wouldn't take recess. What happened? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about that. We'll keep driving on. We do what we do. Item number 9C, approve a fee waiver request from Central Coast Bombers for the use of Soper Field, Mets Field, Catino Field from August 4th, 2025 to October 31st, 2025 in the amount of $10,933. Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This item presented by Dan Mewis, Assistant City Manager.
Good evening again, Dan Mewis, Assistant City Manager. So we're here to talk about fee waiver for Central Coast Bombers. They are a local They are a local 501c3 competitive baseball group. They were established in 2012, and they play in competitive baseball tournaments generally in the fall. So their age group that they specifically cater towards is 12 and under. However, they do have players that are in high school, and so they have a 14 and under group and a 16 and under group as well. So they are trying to build that program as the kids get older. Kids want more competitive play, and so they are trying to grow that that area. So their mission goes well beyond baseball. The organization aims to teach young athletes about responsibility, self-respect, and respect for others. They are based out of Seaside, and they participate local, state, and national tournaments. I have a photo here from one of their teams that participated in Cooperstown. So they do go all over the country. And some of their core values, they promote hard work, determination, and how to have a positive attitude in winning and in losing. So this team right here that you can see that photo of, this is from this year. This is their high school team that just recently won. They went 8-0 in their tournament in the Central Coast Showcase. So these players are, still maintaining strong aptitude for baseball and competing at a high level. City Council has approved fee waivers for Central Coast Bombers since 2019. The teams, when they use our fields, they maintain them and they return them in a better condition than when they arrive. Sometimes when they arrive at some of the fields, groups before them don't take as good of care. They make sure that they clean up after themselves, and they end up actually cleaning up after the groups sometimes that they take over for. They do hold their own fundraisers to assist with additional costs because, one of their biggest costs they do have is traveling. However, that is a low cost program. It is relatively inexpensive compared to other travel ball organizations. Parents and kids, they really just have to pay for their uniforms. And then when they do travel, they split the cost evenly among every other player on the team, where some programs will have an upfront cost of thousands of dollars, and then you still have to pay for travel and everything else in. So they take whatever that tournament costs. The tournament costs $500. They'll split that tournament cost between the 20 kids that are on each team or whoever's participating. So they do try to make it as affordable as possible. And they do also have sponsorships and scholarships for similar players. So the initial field request that came in was for Soper and Rubio Field at Mets Park, Mondays through Thursdays from 5 to 8. And then they also wanted to use Garnett Field at Catino Park on Mondays and Tuesdays from 7:30 to 10 for the month of August. And then September through October, Mondays 5:30 to 8, Mondays and Tuesdays from 5:30 to 8. After reviewing everything, we realized that there are some conflicts. So we did come back and discuss this with the group, and we have a revised field schedule. So the revised schedule is Soper Field on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 8, Rubio Field Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 8, and they'll use Catino on Mondays and Tuesdays from 7:30 to 10. So this alleviates any of the conflicts that they did have. It actually is bringing the fee waiver cost down because we did eliminate 2 days per week at 2 of the fields. And then they are also going to be paying the lights, the cost of the lights at Catino Park as well. So I mentioned one of their Cooperstown teams. So this photo here is a picture of some young boys that participated in Cooperstown. This is a really good program for our community, and it provides that high level of baseball. And a lot of the coaches and the players also play in Seaside Pony as well. So the coaches are all volunteers. They are giving back to the community. They are really trying to educate and promote baseball here in Seaside at a variety of different levels. So the initial fiscal impact was $10,933. They will be paying. If they didn't pay the lights, it was $11,000. But with them paying the $640 for the lights, it went down to $10,933. The initial request. Now the total request was $7,049. With them paying the lighting at Catino, it goes to $6,400. And I just want to say that this isn't we wouldn't be, there's not money that we're giving them. This is money that would be in lieu of if we were to rent that field during that time. So really, the field is just not open to rental. And I'll say that during the fall months, generally, those baseball fields don't get used really. Bombers has been using them for.
So you're explaining to us fee waivers?
I'm just putting it to the public so that everyone understands.
Okay. All right.
So with that, the recommendation is to approve the revised fee waiver from Central Coast Bombers for Soper, Mets, and Catino from August 4th through October 31st in the amount of $6,409.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to make a point, which is that the presentation is to us, right? And so, are there any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Much more of a curiosity, and if you can't answer it, I'm sure they can. The city, via you, have said the last 5-6 years we've been doing this, which is great. So therefore, it's $10,000 a year, and anybody can call themselves anything they want, which I appreciate. But being a loyalist to Seaside, why is it that Central Coast Bombers versus Central Coast Bombers with Seaside on it, or somewhere Seaside's mentioned if 90% of their youth are from Seaside?
Because when they originally, and they could probably answer this better than I can, but when they first started, it was more of the Central Coast. They were trying to cater to everybody. and, get players from all over the Central Coast. It just so happens that a lot of those players currently right now are coming from Seaside. So this was the name under their 501c3 when they started, and that's how it began.
Curious. And then another curiosity question. I know travel ball, be it basketball, baseball, whatever it be, is how much is it for a player to be on this traveling team?
So on this specific team right now, players, they try out and they go through the process. They pay for their uniforms. And then, so like I said, other than the uniform costs, it really just depends on what tournaments they go to and how much that cost is going to be. So tournaments can range from $500 to $1,000. And then, so whatever that tournament is, if they go to 6 to 8 tournaments during this period of time. So whatever the cost is for all those tournaments, then it gets divvied up evenly. I will say that there's another travel ball organization locally that charges $500 a month. So that's their ongoing costs, in addition to all the other travel costs that would be associated with that. So Central Coast Bombers really tries to make it as affordable as possible to have youth in Seaside or throughout the peninsula have that travel ball experience.
Thank you. I was just curious.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much. Public comment is open.
Members of the public in the chamber, please approach the podium. Members of the public on Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 if calling from a phone. Nothing further on Zoom.
Hi, Mr. Mayor and Council. Richard Miramontes. I found this program. I've been coaching in Seaside for 30 plus years. I coached with Bobby. I started out coaching baseball, Seaside Raiders, and I started this. We were actually Seaside Bombers. So then we started getting other people that wanted to play from around other cities. So that's why we changed our name to Central Coast Bombers. I love baseball. I love our kids. I love giving back to the community. It is a low cost for travel ball. It's super low. None of my coaches get paid. I don't pay anything. We don't give our money, no money to ourselves. It's strictly for our kids. Everything that we get all the money that we give right back to the kids. So there was one thing that I did want to talk about, Dan, is, you guys have been good to us and we would love to give back. If our kids are needed at any time, any event, I know we have the car shows, we have certain events. If you guys need volunteers, we do have our 18, our 17, 16s that will be happy to come and help our city out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing further on Zoom.
Seeing no one else, hearing no one else, public comments closed. Were there any questions we had? Any other questions? What is the will of the council?
Move approval.
Couldn't hear you.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved in second that we approve a fee waiver from the Central Coast Bombers. Could you put that back up so I can say the cost for the use of Soper Field, Martinez Field, and Catino Park for roughly $6,409. And I do have on the question. And there was no conflict with the times with any other priority group?
That is correct. We reviewed everything, and so they're coming in on everything that is open and available right now, and everything, there is no conflict.
Thank you so much. All those in favor, use the record sign, voting, which is aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right. Abstentions, hearing none. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for what you do. And I thank you for coming down and speaking. It was important for the community to hear the good work that you do for those young people. Thank you so much. Uh, let's take a short recess, to come back at the sound of the gavel. And back from recess, we'll move on to item 9D. Adopt a resolution awarding a construction contract to the American Integrated Resources for the Fort Ord Military Reservation Property Demonstration Project, Phase 1B, a rebid in the amount not to exceed $2,585,707.95. City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This item presented by Thomas Corman, the city's Public Works Director.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. So this item is to award the construction contract to American Integrated Resources for the demo of Phase 1B. So I'll just excuse me. Okay, so just a brief review here is that, so in part of the terms of conditions of the purchase and sale of the agreement, the city is required to deconstruct, demolish, and remove all buildings, structures, and improvements on the subject property. So again, in this, the city is also planning to remove select trees within the property. This is the scope of the work. Harris and Associate was retained for the professional services for the engineering and development of the plans. And their services will be retained not for construction management, I'll get that into that later, but to support the Seaside engineering team during that period. Okay, just our current schedule, just to get us up to date. This is a prior slide, but just to show that we are on schedule. In December, basically at the end of December 24, the project was about to bid, but there was a bid protest. At that time, we reviewed the bids. We found it was advantageous to increase the scope, which included the chapel. I'll show you some photos of that. The project was rebid and in June on schedule, and then bids were opened in July 2025. And this is where we are here right now, awarding, considering the item for award. So the current scope starts on General Jim Moore at the Burger King site and goes up to 6th Avenue. It stops short of the Hammerhead building, so that is not included. That is Phase 2, which will be the remaining scope. As you heard prior in the news, Phase 1A is basically completed, and now grading, rough grading is being performed on that site. Okay. So the current scope, just a little bit of the before pictures within the current state. This is the Burger King site. This was a current recreation area. There's currently, it's a liability and hazard to the city in its current condition with the existing buildings. There's many sections of uplifted sidewalk, broken streets, and of course the chapel there, which staff has trouble basically securing many break-ins over time. So that is now included in the scope of this demolition. These are our bid results for the Phase 1B. The lowest responsible bidder was American Integrated Resources, coming in with $2,585,707.95. So we had 4 bidders. The engineer's estimate was significantly higher. We're finding that we're in a good bidding environment for public works projects. And so this is why it's significantly lower than we anticipated. We did, a couple notes here, we did receive a bid protest from the second low bidder, that's Brannan Corporation. Coincidentally, they are the same low bid, they are the same second bidder that protested the first job. Okay, so just to make that known, and just to have those notes there. So the scope of the work is basically, in addition to the demo, I wanted to make a couple points here that it comes up about the hazardous material and the soil abatement. So following demolition, post-construction samples will be taken. There may be additional work basically taken beneath the buildings and the pavement areas. And these are going to be taken to depths that are standards to residential standards, residential development standards. So if contamination is identified, this will be outside of the scope of this work. The city will incur additional cost. So just making that known. At this point, that's unknown. Okay. So our project schedule, as it turns out right here. So we are a City Council award, July 2025. We're hoping to issue a notice to proceed for the contractor in August 2025. There's a 120-day calendar completion on this in the contract. So we'll finish basically around November 2025. Okay, just looking ahead for phase 2 for the Hammerhead buildings, we're looking at completing that design in November 2025, and then opening bids in December 2025. And then that work, that schedule is a little bit fuzzy right now, but basically at this time next year, we'll have completed the demolition of the Hammerhead buildings. So that's our scope of work looking forward. Okay. So just to wind this up, and I'd like to take any questions you have. We're asking for recommendation for approval of the plans, the specifications, the CEQA finding, for the demolition of this phase 1B, the rebid, to reject all bid protest, which I'm willing to answer any questions regarding that, award a construction contract to American Integrated Resources in the amount of $2,585,707.95, establishing a 15% construction contingency, and authorizing the city manager to execute the construction agreement and approve any amendments, extensions, and change order that we encounter during the project. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Of course, Councilmember Garcia Arizona.
Thank you for that presentation. One of the things I want to touch on is that small bullet point on slide 7. If contamination is identified, city will incur additional costs for abatement. Should we find contamination, how far would that delay the project? Or do you have an estimate?
I don't, because it depends on the scope of what's found. For instance, in phase 1A, my understanding from the knowledge that I've received is that was found underneath where the guard station is, basically closer down towards Light Fighter. And so that incurred, basically that soil had to be removed and then sent off site. So I can imagine, depending on the findings, maybe 3 to 6 months. But it's going to depend on the amount that's found and the locations and the accessibility of it.
And should contamination be found, do we have a plan to sort of tackle or avoid the issue? And then
We do through the use of the prior consultant that we've been using for that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Seeing no one else, public comment is open.
Members of the public in the chamber, please approach the podium. Members of the public on Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 if you're calling from a phone. Nothing further on Zoom.
Public comment remains open. Seeing no one else, hearing no one else, public comment is closed. Bringing it back to the dais. What is the will of the council?
Move approval.
Second.
You're probably moved in second that we approve staff recommendations for 9D. On the question? All those in favor, use your sign of voting, which is aye.
Aye.
Nays have the same right. Abstentions? Hearing none, ayes have it. Motion carry unanimously. Go to item number 10, council members' request. New council members' request. Follow up on previous requests, city manager.
Mayor, there are no additional follow-ups this evening. Thank you.
Item number 11, city attorney, city manager, city council, and mayor's comments and reports on committee assignments. City attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the public. I was very fortunate to have enjoyed the Red, White, and Blues Festival at City Hall lawn on July 4th. In addition, I wanted to give a huge shout out to the police department and to our Fire Chief Blaha for taking me on a ride along during fireworks enforcement. It was incredibly educational for me in terms of helping to ensure that the processes were being followed and we were doing everything we could. So it will help in the enforcement. And to that end, I have received in the city attorney's office for the July 4th holiday already up from the police department 71 citations. Of those 71 citations, we've already collected on 2 of them. And I am hopeful to have an active enforcement period for this July 4th year. Thank you.
City manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. For those who may have missed it in the news, on-site grading for Campus Town Phase 1A has begun. We had a pre-construction meeting on July 10th, where representatives from the city, KB Bakewell, and various project partners started that activity. Clearing and grubbing activities will take approximately 6 to 8 weeks. Congratulations once again to Fire Chief Paul Blaha, who was officially sworn in this evening prior to the city council meeting. And like many, I had the pleasure of attending the 4th of July Red, White, and Blues celebration and the first week of Sunday Blues in the Park. I want to thank staff for everything that it takes to make those events possible. And then finally, on June 11th, the mayor and I were able to attend a Team Monterey meeting at the Navy Postgraduate School hosted by Congressman Jimmy Panetta. Congressman Panetta facilitated a discussion with multiple attendees focused on information sharing, readiness, and resilience of our military installations. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Burks.
Yep, I also attended our 4th of July celebration with the council. Thank you to Parks and Recs for all that you've done. And I was able to get the very end of our Oban Festival after being a mommy all day at cheer. And as far as my AMP meeting, we're hoping to get a special meeting on the calendar next week.
Thank you, Councilmember Garcia Azzola.
Thank you. On June 28th, I attended Monterey Peninsula Pride alongside Councilwoman Burks and Mayor Ian Oglesby, showing up in support as representing Seaside and the community and our commitment to our LGBTQ community. On July 1st, I met with the nonprofit, the Blind and Visually Impaired nonprofit, and I got to speak to some Seaside residents about challenges that they're facing and sort of suggestions that they'd like to see in the city of Seaside in making it more inclusive for our communities. And it was very heartwarming and a reminder of what we are doing, what we're going to continue to do, and our commitment to making sure everybody feels seen in the city of Seaside. On July 4th, I attended the Red, White, and Blue Festival alongside my colleagues. Wonderful event. It was pretty sunny outside. And yesterday, I attended it was an event at McDonald's with the owners of McDonald's celebrating a graduate, which is their general manager. Her name's Pamela. I was there supporting her trajectory towards higher education through the Pathways to Opportunities program. And what was inspiring for me in that event yesterday was to see her resilience of pursuing a bachelor's degree as a single mother with a child of special needs, working full-time as a general manager for McDonald's. And yesterday they approved her to continue her education and pursue a bachelor's degree in business administration. So again, a lot of great things happening in our community, and it was just really inspiring to see one of our Seaside residents fulfill her dreams and achievements. Tomorrow I'll be at Regen board meeting, so I expect to have a further extensive report out next meeting.
Well, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I guess just for your information, I was told tonight that our Pin Oak baseball team is playing in the World Series. As of about 6 o'clock, it was 2-2 against a Hawaii team, but who knows? Attended the senior dance today. Great turnout, lots of fun, good. Music was wonderful, food was terrific. Everything good was said. I attended the 10-year anniversary of Pachetti Dog Park. It was a wonderful anniversary of family, friends, and dogs in our community. About 200 people attended, which was really nice. Just want to thank Becky Stolfer and the committee and the fire department, and as well as the rec staff for helping out. I think the mayor and Councilman Garcia attended the groundbreaking for MST, the surf project. Lots of politicians, lots of community, and lots of staff. They're moving forward, which is a real good process. It's been a long time process, and thanks for all those that made it happen. I believe to include the mayor, who's on TAMC, helped with the funding and that process as well. I attended the 4th of July festival like we all. It was a great family event. I think there was a lot of more activities for kids, which is real positive, and staff did a great job. Attended the Fossil Park cleanups, I believe with the mayor. It's a continuing wonderment at how well the parks are doing and the improvement and the efforts they're putting forward along with city staff. I attended the Fossil Park tour. And they had a picture display of past when they first began to now, and it's just significant the changes. Attended the kickoff to Sunday Blues. Is a great beginning to the series. Great participation, sunny weather, and wonderful music. I want to, and this is on me, I want to thank Jackie Perez and Teddy Black for their efforts. I think their positive attitude, and I noticed a difference in change of attitude, just makes the willingness for those that are there and the entertainers and the support team just makes it a difference. I also wanted to thank the city manager for attending. In my 38 years of being involved with that project, that was the first time probably in 35 years since a city manager showed up, and hopefully he enjoyed himself. I attended the MST meeting. Bus services has increased to 85% pre-COVID. Taxi cab service has increased. The surf project is moving forward. Land is being sought to be bought to improve services and spaces for the buses. And there's something else, but I think that's for the most of it. So thank you so much.
No, go ahead, of course.
I forgot to mention that on July 9th, I was able to travel up to San Jose to say farewell to the General Consul Alejandra Bolonia, who is the General Consul of General Consulate of Mexico in San Jose, and she's being reassigned to Minnesota. Nonetheless, we got to present her a resolution or a certificate recognizing her years of service to the city of Seaside, her commitment to our community, but also had the opportunity to talk to staff and see how we might be able to continue the conversation and bring mobile consulates to the city of Seaside as well. So looking forward to welcoming the new general consul that's coming into the area and going to be representing our community. So always good to shine Seaside in front of them as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? Attended the TAMC meeting, a pretty routine meeting. Attended 2 leadership council meetings related to homelessness and how do we, again, provide more services to those that do not have proper shelter. So attended the Surf Bus Way kickoff ceremony with the Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Garcia Zola was there. Program finally come to fruition. It's supposed to move people quicker between Marina and Sand City as a way to save miles traveled, vehicle gas, and a dependable way without being stuck in traffic to make sure more families can get to and from work and shopping or doctor's appointments and things like that without being stuck into the daily commute traffic. Attended the 4th of July parade in Monterey, wonderful parade. And so I want to do hats off to the city of Monterey, did a great job over there. And then came over here to the city of Seaside Red, White, and Blues Festival. I want to appreciate the rec staff for putting that on again. I had a lot of compliments from family members about all the activities for kids, which was new and exciting and different. And it makes a difference where they have a place to take their kids, because a lot of people say, hey, I was at, excuse me, and I won't say the name of the city because they're my brothers and sisters, right? But I was in a city next door. I was in a city a few miles down the road, and it was really nothing for the family. And so that's a distinction that we have. So we appreciate the council making sure that thing is resourced, and the department head, Assistant City Manager Dan Mullis, for making sure we continue to improve ourselves, and the city manager. Attended the city council's, I'm sorry, Salinas County Sanitation District meeting. Going pretty smooth. Everything's going fine at our sanitation district. Attended North Salinas Mosquito Abatement District meeting. We had a great meeting over there in Salinas. And I just remind the citizens of Seaside that we do have that resource. We do ask that you check your backyards for that little pot of water. It doesn't take a lot of water. Some of you guys don't have pools, but you still have planters. You still have little places that water can congregate, so to speak, and next thing you know, you have mosquitoes. So just go out and check your backyard. And if there's any places in Seaside that has those marshes or anything like that, they do come out and they do mosquito abatement. So just because it's called North Salinas Mosquito Abatement, they still cover this area. So we need to look into that. I had a great meeting with talking about our relationship with Sand City's mayor, the Honorable Mary Ann Carbone. We had a great lunch together, just talked about how our shared goals and how do we continue to work together in the future, maximizing our abilities to drive economic development in our communities. Like the city manager said, we attended a Team Monterey with Congress member Panetta. It's something that he tries to do annually, called all the military leaders together in this region, and just have an update from them about what he can do to continue to help them with their military mission and make sure we're always ready and prepared to defend this nation. And he does a great job of making sure they do have the resources and advocating for them. So it was an honor to be invited to that. So we thank our Congressman Panetta for making sure that the military mission that's in this region, in his district, and particularly the military mission in the city of Seaside, me and the city manager are working hard to make sure that the federal government continues to fund those missions here. And that's, to be honest with you, it's a day-to-day battle. And so that's part of our advocacy for the Monterey Bay Defense Alliance. We want to make sure that we budgeted money to make sure we're part of that alliance so we can be in that advocacy group. And also the Association for Defense Communities as a more national group that we need to make sure that we are partnering in. So when we do go to DC, we can speak as a group about the support that's needed by communities that had a military mission that are closed down. But sometimes we talk here in Seaside as though we don't have a active military mission. We have thousands of homes, but I would venture to say we have thousands of service members actually working in the city of Seaside in their duty stations here in the city of Seaside. So I would ask the council support for that, and that probably include coming down the road, some travel on the part of me and the city manager to make sure we're at the table as opposed to on the menu. And we want to thank Mr. Fred Euler for all of his efforts and his leadership. And one thing we did talk about at the Team Monterey was how is the city resilient if we had to be on our own without electricity? So that's something that city manager's on his radar, but I asked the council to make sure we continue to look into that and make sure we're prepared. I attended a couple park cleanups with the mayor pro tem and took care of that. I attended the 76th annual Oban Festival. It was a wonderful festival. Again, what the Monterey Peninsula Buddhist Temple does in this region again, and their headquarters are here in the city of Seaside, just continues to raise the bar and, you know, put Seaside on the map. There's people coming from Santa Cruz, San Luis Obispo, and things of that nature to come over and be a part of that ceremony where really it's about how remembering your relatives, the ones that's passed. That's really what it's about. And so it's a great opportunity for families to do that. And they do that at the Monterey Peninsula Buddhist Temple, which is located in the city of Seaside. Attended the kickoff for the Blues in the Park, Sunday Blues in the Park. Well done again by rec staff, and you always see the mayor pro tem there. You know, and I think a lot of individuals are comfortable when they see him walking around checking, and he's a great ambassador for that annual event. Was 6 weeks, 5-week event, and so we appreciate his work on making sure that it's always top notch. And I would just continue to encourage him, if there's issues, we need to work with the city manager about how to improve the experience over there. I did my pet peeves, you know, I checked the bathrooms, and so we just need to be on top of those type of things and things of that nature. Seaside Housing Collaborative, our last meeting went well. We appreciate the council for sending that document forward. We adopted that agreement, and we look forward for the relationship with the city of Seaside as we try to create more affordable housing choices in partnership with the council. This morning I was at the Cal City's Board of Directors meeting. We had a meeting today in San Jose. I left a little earlier to get down here for this meeting. I have to go back tonight, finish our board meeting tomorrow. But again, it's about local control and how do we make sure we push back against bills that are not supportive of local control or try to take some of the power away from cities. So it's a actual seat at the table where we get to lobby our state representatives. I want to just highlight the fiber art exhibition here in the AV Gallery. Wonderful. If you haven't had a chance to come down here and see it, you should see that artwork that those artists put together. Is really beautiful. And we want to thank Sandra Gray for, I believe when I talked to her, she had this idea about, hey, well, we got all of these other types of art. What about actual fabric? And so to bring that to our gallery was just amazing. Again, I want to thank newly promoted Fire Chief Blajas for all of his work and his dedication to the city of Seaside. I appreciate that. Attended, like Councilmember Garcia said, the Pride March and Parade. We always want to make sure that everyone feels welcome and protected. And so we will continue to do that as a city, as the city of Seaside has done since the early 50s. Okay, that is enough right there. And so I would ask the city attorney to read us into closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the public. Council will meet in closed session on a matter of public employee performance evaluations pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. The titles in question are the city attorney and the city manager. They'll have a conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. Property in question is commonly referred to as Campus Town. The agency negotiators are the city manager et al. And the negotiating parties, City of Seaside and KB Bakewell Seaside Venture 2, under negotiation price, terms of payment are both. And finally, they'll have a conference with legal counsel pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2 on 2 matters of potential litigation. For the benefit of the public, I do not believe there will be any readouts of action taken during closed session this evening. That concludes my read-in.
Thank you. Public comment is open on our closed session items.
Members of the public in the chamber, please approach the podium. Members of the public on Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 if you're calling from a phone.
While we're waiting for anyone to come up, we will go into our closing the meeting portion before we go into closed session. So public comment remains open on our closed session items.
Nothing further on Zoom.
Okay, thank you so much. Hearing no one, seeing no one, public comment is closed. Mayor Pro Tem, I know we spoke about Helena Loom before. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything else. And really, I'm telling the people that may come to the council meeting late, as in viewers, they may not understand that we spoke about her when her family was here, right when the meeting opened up. But I don't know if you had any couple seconds of closing remarks.
Just basically, in a nutshell, she provided countless services to the city, from line dancing to organizing line dance groups, to organizing dances, to helping with the field trips. She brought people together as far as trips, community spirit, involvement, leadership. And she was a wonderful mother. She had 5 kids, all successful, all volunteering now. The dad used to work at Morning Mart, for those who can go back that far in Delray Oaks. Just a lady that led people to enjoy life in a volunteer space, and her heart and soul was in Seaside. That's where her energy, that's where her love, that's where her friends were. She was a great team captain of positive city services for our seniors.
Thank you so much. I agree with that totally. Before I come back to you about Mr. Mancini, yeah, I remember the beautiful smile, and I think she was participating at the Audemars Center, as long as she could, right? And so that continued to bring a lot of people together over the last up 10 years. So we appreciate all the things that she's done, and that's the memory that I have of her, of smiling, laughing, and dancing out on the dance floor. So I think that's a good vision to end with. Mayor Pro Tem, you had anyone else wanted to make a comment? And Mayor Pro Tem, you can talk about Tom Mancini, and anyone else can talk about Tom Mancini.
Yeah, just by memory, I think Tom served as a city councilman for at least 12, if not 16 years. He ran for mayor, I believe, one time. Definitely involved in the community, definitely had his own way that he went about things. Very knowledgeable, very good with specific numbers, especially related to water, because water was, even 20 years ago, was still a battle. And he was very committed to it. And he's very proud of his Italian heritage by being a member of the Italian president of the Italian Heritage Association for decades. Lovely wife. They were married over 50 years. Definitely involved. The family's definitely involved with tennis, but he led by his love for Seaside, by his commitment to Seaside, by his community passion. I remember one time when he was running for mayor, he went to Mexico for, I think, 3 months to learn Spanish. And that was just, so when he ran for mayor, he was able to speak, he thought, in the languages they can communicate, so he was very proud of that. But he definitely had a heart for Seaside, a love for Seaside, was committed to Seaside and followed the law. I think, and Mayor, probably correct me if I'm wrong, fought a lot of battles under FORA. I think he was definitely involved with that in that process. But he was a fighter and very diligent in his information, and he did his homework, right or wrong, believe him or not. He did his, or agree with him or not, he did his homework. He was prepared to talk to speak for Seaside and fight for the residents of Seaside.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Councilmember Garcia.
I have to agree with Mayor Pro Tem on his love for Seaside. Thomas Mancini was very passionate when he spoke, but he also kept it very real and was very blunt when talking to you. And I think that's what I appreciated about him. I had the privilege of sitting down and talking to him, whether it was at CHS luncheons or senior dances or Oldemeyer events. He was still very much participating, and I'm thankful that I got to learn a lot from him in such a short time. And just to hear him talk about his stories and his time on council really opened and gave me a different perspective on how to lead. And I think you find very few of those former elected officials that are still willing to give you advice and not tear you down, but instead build you up and really teach you how to not go through the same mishaps that they went through, and really feel empowered on who you are, feel empowered to find your voice, and always just keep it real with the community. So I'm saddened to hear that he's passed, but nonetheless thankful for his countless years of dedication to the city of Seaside.
Thank you, sir. Well said. Anyone else? I'm going to read my comments. I want to stay focused, and I had the honor of serving with Tom here for a handful of years before he retired, and just an excellent person, individual, and council member for the benefit of Seaside. And we talked a little bit about one of his areas of expertise was for Mr. City Manager. You appreciate that. I believe he's a retired city manager. I forgot what, I think it was Watsonville or something, but San Juan Bautista. And so he brought a lot of that understanding to the council, and he shared that with all of us that served with him. And he was a substitute teacher. So we talk about teaching and understanding, and I know not personally, but I know of the hundreds of thousands of kids that actually went through his classes that were impacted by him. So before we adjourn tonight, I just want to take a moment to reflect and on the honor of former Seaside Council member Tom Mancini. Like I said, I had the honor of working with them, serving with him. He was dedicated public servant, a principal leader, and a gracious mentor. And I think Councilmember Alexis Garcia-Zola mentioned that. Tom was always asking the deeper questions of how would this affect our youth? When things would come through here, that's one of his areas, how would it affect the youth? And are we doing right by our families and our veterans? Because for those of you that may not know, he was a Vietnam vet. He did 2 tours in Vietnam. And so that's something he just lived with, and we want to thank him for all of that. Which that mindset helped shape the way we lead Seaside today. A proud veteran, Tom brought that same sense of discipline, duty, and humility to his work on the council. His years of service included championing youth and senior programs, promoting economic growth, fiercely protecting Seaside's control over its own land through his advocacy at FORA. From the redevelopment of Fort Ord to bringing new business to our city, his leadership helped shape Seaside as we know it today. Tom did not just serve Seaside, he loved Seaside. His and his wife, Marilyn, poured their hearts into the city. As Tom was serving, Marilyn would be serving in nonprofits and community groups and playing her tennis. And she's still out there going strong. So our thoughts go out there and prayers go out there to her and the family. But they were a team, and they really moved Seaside forward. He was full of wisdom and never hesitated to share it. I learned from watching him, and I listened when he spoke. Seaside owes a great deal to the legacy of Councilmember Tom Mancini. Let us remember what he taught us and carry his values forward. A life of service is a life well honorably lived. That's a quote, unquote, but it's the author is unknown. So tonight we close this meeting in his name and his memory. We've seen heartfelt prayers to Marilyn, to his family, and to his many friends who he leaves behind. May his life continue to inspire service, honor, and love of community. And so we hope both of them, Tom and Helena, both rest in peace. And we appreciate everything they both done for this community and the legacy that they left behind, motivating those that loved them and appreciated them to do better in our community. So with that, we will move into closed session, and we will adjourn the meeting in the memory and honor of both of them. Thank you so much. We'll move into closed session.